Good morning. Reform UK says it will launch what it calls the largest military operation in the English Channel since the Second World War in order to stop the small boats.
Well, Nigel Farage says a Reform government would deploy the Royal Navy to intercept migrant boats and return them to France or Belgium under plans dubbed Operation Fortress.
We're just going to be relentless. People want to see this issue addressed.
Well, the proposal comes as more than 2,000 people have crossed the Channel since Andy Burnham became Prime Minister, with the government insisting its own approach is beginning to reduce crossings compared with this time last year.
And Britain could be heading for recession if the war in the Middle East drags on, according to a stark new economic warning.
Children are picking up knives younger than many parents realise. That's according to a hard-hitting new campaign which is launching today.
And one of Britain's biggest sporting traditions is underway as thousands of sailors descend on the Isle of Wight for Cows Week.
A very good morning. The Commonwealth Games drew to a close in Glasgow last night. We'll look back on the event and whether it has a future. And embattled FIFA chairman Gianni Infantino plots a path to survival. Join me later.
Heard there's another heat wave on the way? Find out just how high temperatures are going to get where you live in your full forecast coming up.
Good morning, it's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Now, I know that you love a trigger warning, so I thought, why don't we start the week with one?
All right.
Yeah?
Go on. All right. Tease me.
Yes, so nursery rhymes. We all love a nursery rhyme. So Jack and Jill going up the hill, Little Bo Peep, you'll be familiar. Anyway, these have delighted generations of children, as we know, but they are sexist and they teach children worrying lessons about gender roles, this is according to academics. So the line Jack and Jill went up the hill places the male character in a position of leadership.
Oh.
Because he's going first, you see. While Little Miss Muffet portrays femininity as emotionally weak because a spider frightens her.
I know blokes who get scared of spiders as well.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Daddy long legs.
Yeah, Daddy long is pretty nasty, but I'm scared of it. They're pretty nasty.
And the fact that Bo Peep doesn't know where to find them implies confusion and dependence.
This is ridiculous.
This is from a university in Pakistan that is warning that parents should be cautious about nursery rhymes that reinforce gender stereotypes.
Oh, you just can't make it up. This world is so exhausting.
So no Jack and Jill go up the hill anymore. Jill's going up the hill.
Jill's going up the hill.
Jack's following behind.
Didn't one of them fall down, break the crown?
No, I think that's Humpty Dumpty.
OK, right.
Yeah, it is, yeah. That's right.
All right. One of them rolled down
vinegar and brown paper.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's very resourceful.
Well, Humpty Dumpty, that's misogynistic. No, that's misandry.
Oh, is it?
Well, Humpty Dumpty's a man, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
Or am I being sexist?
There'd probably be a problem with that as well.
There would be.
Anyway, thought you'd enjoy that this morning.
I guess.
3 minutes past 6. Reform UK has committed to using the Royal Navy to seal off the Channel to small boat migrants, pledging the biggest military operation in the English Channel since the Second World War.
Interesting. Well, Operation Fortress would intercept all migrant boats and return them to France or Belgium. It comes as more than 60,000 migrants from Morocco descended on the tiny Spanish enclave of Ceuta in just a matter of hours.
Well, this comes after the Prime Minister has vowed to be relentless in tackling the number of migrants crossing the English Channel on small boats, as more than 2,000 people have made the journey since Andy Burnham entered number 10.
The Prime Minister still says there's a lot to do.
We're just going to be relentless. People want to see this issue addressed. I heard that on the doorsteps in Makerfield. But we also need to build a system that offers safe routes for people as well, because that also takes away the selling point of the gangs. So on every level, we've got to come at this, but crucially, increasing the enforcement activity. So there's been a doubling of enforcement officers through the National Crime Agency.
Well, we're joined now by political commentator Oscar Redrop. Morning to you, Oscar. What do you make of these plans?
There's good and bad going on here, I think, when we zoom out and look at the politics of it in particular. I think we've heard Andy Burnham talk about being relentless. We've heard about Shabana Mahmood talking about the need to go further and wider with how we tackle this issue. That is incredibly vague, right? I mean, that makes you nervous because, particularly with the Home Secretary, you would want fully formed plans that she can hand over to Andy Burnham for sign-off almost immediately. They clearly don't have those yet, or they're working out the politics of it properly. So reform's best slot in the political space, I think, of course, is on the issue of immigration, but it's when they're actually stepping in and providing policy solutions. And I understand that this was something that was floated in terms of the using the Royal Navy to stop the migrant channel crossings, but things have changed. We look at what happened off the coast of Spain. You know, the stakes feel a lot higher all of a sudden. And don't get me wrong, people like Farage and people around Reform will be saying, we've been telling you about these stakes getting bigger and higher right across Europe for years. And people are only, it feels like, maybe just waking up to it when they actually visually see it. So yes, this is a slightly reheated policy from Reform before the last election, but the context has changed. And I don't think politically there's anything wrong with Reform reminding people that they would be willing to go a bit further, a bit harder, and probably taking the action, the slightly more drastic action, when we look at the images on the screen there, that would be required.
See, it's really interesting. So I had Labour MP Barry Gardner on my show last night, and he vehemently says this would not work, and it's a gimmick. And his argument is this, Oscar. It's that, actually, what happens if you put the Navy in the sea and you turn these boats around France? Well, they could just cut off the entry to Dover, right? That would damage our economy irreparably, and it would also strain our relationship with France, which, you know, like them or not.
Our relationship with France, particularly on, you know, illegal immigration, I think it's been embarrassing for this country how we've relied on them with these deals to help solve a problem they have no interest in solving. I imagine the other concerns that people like Barry, and not just the left, but a slightly more practical concern, is that when you use examples like Australia, for example, where they have used this, it is slightly different because there's open water, there's open sea, which we don't quite have in the same way. It's not a question of waiting for the crossing to touch down on our shores and then, oh, it's too late. It becomes that as soon as they enter our water and territory anyway. But look, I mean, what do people want here? Do they want the issue solved or not? Do they want people kind of tiptoeing around it?
But or do they want... the Navy would solve this?
I think it is a stronger indicator. Look, I was in number 10 when the Rwanda scheme was put together, and there will always be naysayers, and there will always be people say, "Oh, you can't do that," and you can't. And in the end, there wasn't just naysayers. There were lawyers who grounded those planes and took people off them. But ultimately, you need to push the envelope. You need to think big, and you need to be quite drastic sometimes.
But so many of our viewers saying this is common sense using the Royal Navy. Yeah. But why hasn't it been done before if it's that simple?
I would imagine that and I know Reform are saying no, we can work within the legal framework. I doubt that, if I'm honest. I think there is a difficult legal framework around it. And it is that thing about as soon as they cross into our waters, they become kind of... we're accountable for them. It's not just a land thing. But look, like... I mean, look what's happening in Spain. I think the picture's changed than it had a week ago. I think this issue requires more drastic action than it did even a week ago.
Yeah.
So fascinating, Oscar, because you're seeing that it's still. This all feels so familiar when Keir Starmer walked through that door of number 10, and his first few weeks were completely mired with migrant crossings. Andy Burnham, despite having his head in the sand about this, it now feels like that's hitting him too.
He's not comfortable on it. You can see it. He did an interview on it, and he's just not comfortable.
Yeah, he's just saying we'll be relentless, which, as you say, is very vague, isn't it?
Very.
He also noted that 90% of those who did cross into Spanish territory have then been returned. So he's aware that it can be done.
Yeah, but what did the Spanish do? They deployed the military.
Yeah.
There you go.
And they have an agreement in place with Morocco that actually works.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's the difference. Anyway, we can get into all of this now. Thanks, Oscar. With immigration lawyer Ivan Sampson. Morning to you, Ivan. Really good to see you this morning. So much to go through with you. Shall we start with Reform's plans first to deploy the Royal Navy in order to stop the small boats in the Channel? They're saying that they think this would be in keeping with international law. What's your assessment?
No, I'm not sure about that. For several reasons. We're members of several treaties that oblige us. For example, the United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas. So even if you did have a Royal Navy blockade, if they threw themselves into the sea, we'd have to rescue them and bring them back to UK. So you're just creating a new set of problems, I think. We're also members of SOLAS, very similar to UNCLOS. So we'd have to come out of those conventions. And I think, look, it's not just about the law. There's morality here. I mean, what do we do if we see people drowning in the sea? Do the Royal Navy just sit and watch them drown?
Ivan, can I put this to you?
It's more complex.
Beg your pardon, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, Ivan. I accept your point on the international law stuff. That's something we saw Keir Starmer come out quite strong on. We've seen successive governments sort of try to sort of find the line with that. If you're a reform government, you say, I don't care about those international laws. Everyone else is breaking them all around the world. Why should we just be the only people that abide by it? Could you not also make the argument, yes, we wouldn't let people drown, but we would then also pick them up and put them back over to France?
Look, it's been done before. Reform's idea is nothing new. Australia did it in 2004. I think it was called Operation Sovereign. But the difference is this: they had somewhere to send the people. Because what Australia did was they made agreements with various countries to return those people. Our problem is we can't play ping pong with these people with France. We can't. We need to send them somewhere. So that's the difference. And reform will not be able to get over that, because once you have people claiming asylum, and even on the boats, suppose you rescue them and you put them onto US and UK Navy boats, and they say, I want to claim asylum. We have an international obligation to consider that claim. I've always said we need to relook at the Refugee Convention. It's not fit for purpose, simply because people are claiming asylum, most of these, and I'm a human rights lawyer, but I recognize that people are coming here for economic reasons. I understand that. I don't blame them for it, because people are desperate. People will do desperate things. So we need to relook at the Refugee Convention. It's not fit for purpose. I've been saying this for years, that the government needs to look at that. It's not. It's really designed for those people who are not protected by their own state, and it's not for economic migrants. So we need to really look at that.
So what changes would you suggest need to be made to the Refugee Convention?
There's only one thing we can do, is do a deal with France. Look, reform will never do it. The European Union wants some form of free movement, in some form. I'll give you an example. Look, I brought over a CEO of an international airline and his family. It cost £30,000 in home office fees, and it took 6 months. The airline was going mad because they could not get their CEO over here quick enough. Now, I'd have no problems in bringing over French surgeons and French engineers and French nurses and people who are professionals. I'd have no problems with that from the EU. Why not? We need them. So I think there is a deal to be done with the French. The only people that can stop the boats are the French. We cannot do it. So we need to strike a deal with the French government and the EU. And if there's an EU treaty and the French don't do it, they get fined. They get taken to court. They will get taken to ECJ, and there'll be fines for not implementing policy of the EU.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, Ivan, I don't think actually people would disagree in normal times that what you're saying is unreasonable. I think actually most people would say that's reasonable. However, I think people have got to the stage now where they look at what's going on in France and they see the French beaches as they did with Chris Philp, who was on this show actually live, where there were migrants boarding boats over to Britain. They say, we're giving the French £500 million not that long ago in this new deal. We've got French gendarmes on the beach who are meant to be stopping these boats, literally in front of these migrants, saying, oh, don't do that, it's dangerous, and they've been told to let them go. Other than that, they've got French charity workers who are seemingly also sort of helping migrants along, and they go, why on earth are we spending all this money? The French don't really, of course the French want to get rid of these people as well. None of this is working. Deploy the Navy. And I think it's that desperation people have, Ivan, for this crisis to stop. Do you think perhaps people might just get to a point and they say, I don't care about UN treaties, I don't care what the EU thinks, I want this over and done with, and I'm going to vote for a party that is going to, even if it hurts us in the short term, deal with this issue?
No, I think laws need to be broken. I mean, there's no question about it. Hard decisions need to be made if a party like Reform will do this. But let me ask you a question. If the tables were turned and we had to stop people leaving the UK, could we do it? Yes, we could. We'd easily do it. It's about political will. And look, we need to give something. We've got to stop this ideology of no free movement. We do things that are good for this country. If it's good for us to bring engineers, brain surgeons, CEOs of airlines, earning millions of pounds, paying thousands of pounds in taxes, that's got to be good for us, surely. I'm not saying bring unskilled workers. I'm saying, but skilled workers, absolutely. And you know who they'll replace? The EU national skilled workers. They'll replace all the other skilled workers that are coming here from those countries we may not agree with their moral values. So I'd rather have a French, and I'm not being discriminatory at all. I mean, we have certain standards and moral values in our customs, and I'd like people to come to this country who share them. So I'd have no problem with that. So we need to do a deal. Andy Burnham needs to send someone that can work with the French to get some sort of free movement and get the French to stop the boats. They're the only ones that can do it. We cannot do it.
All right, really good to get your assessment on things this morning. Ivan Sampson, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ivan. All right, then. Let's have a look. It's got you guys talking this morning. We'll read out some of those very shortly. But let's have a look at some other news stories coming in at the moment.
2 people have died after 2 helicopters collided mid-air while battling wildfires in Greece. A Danish and a Greek national were killed, while a Greek and a British national survived. More than 100 homes northwest of Athens have been destroyed, with nearby villages evacuated.
And President Donald Trump says the United States and Iran have reached a deal over the Strait of Hormuz, with more talks due today. The claim comes after the US president cancelled what he described as massive strikes on Iran over the weekend.
The US singer Ariana Grande has announced she's taking a break from public life. It's due to scrutiny over her health. A representative for the Wicked star said that she's withdrawn from a theatre production in London, which was due to run until 2027, and would finish her current tour healthily and happily.
Lots of you writing in about that. Freddie says, make all human rights lawyers defending migrants work pro bono. Let's see if they're as keen then. And I do think there is this sense, isn't there, that we are constantly pandering to laws when actually Parliament is there to write the laws.
Yeah.
And it's there to fix these problems.
You heard there from Ivan Sampson, immigration lawyer, saying laws need to be broken.
Yeah.
Deals need to be made.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's coming from a lawyer...
And this is it, right? It's the situation is just never ending. So people want solutions, and I can see why what reform we're offering will be very attractive to a lot of people. Yeah, I can see it.
Keep your views coming in. gbnews.com/your say. In the meantime, set to be hot, hot, hot.
It is. Wonder if the pollen count's high.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Here are all the details with Tom Morgan.
Expect warm spells. With the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's going to be a hot and muggy day for some parts of England and Wales, and a quite humid picture elsewhere too, with the potential for some rain or showers, mainly in the north of the UK today, and more particularly Scotland. So a pretty damp start to the day for the central belt, and the rain will gradually push its way ever so slightly further north as we go through into this afternoon. Showers will form across Northern Ireland and southern Scotland too, and there may well be just 1 or 2 very isolated hit and miss showers across England and Wales. But here is mostly about the heat and humidity. A really hot day across the southeast of England in particular, the mid-30s Celsius possible, and quite likely the low 30s more widely across England and the east of Wales. The potential is there also for 1 or 2 late afternoon and evening showers, possibly thunderstorms. So don't take the graphics too literally. We could see 1 or 2 showers further south and east than these graphics suggest. But generally speaking, it will be the further north and west you come where the greater the chance of seeing some rain this evening, more especially across Scotland, but the rain will tend to become more showery away from the north as we go towards the second half of the day. A pretty humid picture, though, through this evening, wherever you are. An increasing chance of some longer spells of rain developing, some heavy outbreaks perhaps for parts of North Wales, but generally the chance of rain or showers in many northern and western parts of the UK overnight tonight. Further south and east staying largely dry, but again, the chance of 1 or 2 heavy showers or thunderstorms. An uncomfortably warm night for sleeping, quite humid, temperatures perhaps staying in the high teens Celsius in some southern areas. Now for Tuesday, it's going to be a slightly less hot and humid day for most, and certainly a pretty wet day across parts of northern Scotland. An increasingly breezy picture here, the winds funneling down through the Irish Sea as well later in the day. The chance of some scattered showers breaking out pretty much anywhere across the UK, but that chance is lowest towards the south and the east. And here we'll hold on to some heat. Temperatures might well approach 30 degrees Celsius in the east of England, but cooler for most.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
All right, still to come, the Commonwealth Games have come to a spectacular close in Glasgow. Look at that. Looks awesome, doesn't it? I'm going to bring you the latest and best of the action.
But first, the shocking images being used to warn primary school children about the dangers of knife crime. We're going to get into all of that next.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 6:24. Now, can you imagine a child as young as 10 carrying a knife around? It's hard to picture, isn't it?
It is hard to picture, it is. Well, Simply Active has launched a campaign featuring powerful images of toys with stab wounds, and you can see them on your screens right now, to raise awareness among parents of primary school children.
Well, the campaign highlights that no child is too young to be affected by knife crime, and it encourages parents to take the issue seriously.
We're joined by knife crime campaigner Ken Hines. Thank you very much for joining us, Ken. Really do appreciate your time this morning, because this is a really important campaign. And we speak a lot about knife crime here on GB News because of the amount of lives that it takes every single year in this country. It's an astounding number. But of course, there's also a problem which many people might not understand, is that kids under the age of 18 are picking up knives. Why are they doing that?
Thank you for inviting me in your programme. But you mentioned about children under 18. They're the group that is most influential or can easier to groom and to guide and to get them to do mischief. And so they mentioned it, social media, peer pressure, and a number of issues that will affect these youngsters, feeling that they feel safer carrying a knife. But I would say is that there's one thing carrying a knife, another thing using it.
Yeah.
And a lot of these youngsters start off saying it's just a fashion item, but then it gets a bit more serious with the invent of social media, showing people actually being stabbed. Now, you've got some horrendous pictures of just toys being shown, the damage is done on there. I don't see what this is going to do with parents. Maybe the youngsters, it may have more influence. Youngsters, the group they're reaching out for, the under 10s, to get them to understand the damage that such things can cause. But parents need to understand about where their children are emotionally. Yeah. Parents need to check in their children's bedrooms, where often they are showing off on social media what they have, if they've got anything. So if you want to be an absolute on-point parent, I would say, yes, you said trusting, not trusting, but you have to go out there and safeguard and protect yourself. Make sure that you're comfortable, that your child is not carrying or having such dangerous weapons around them.
Ken, what has happened here? Because we've always considered knife crime to be a teenage issue, haven't we? As you say, teenagers are easier to manipulate by gangs. But now we're looking, and what we're talking about here is knife crime in primary school. Children under 10 years old. What age are you aware of children being exposed to knives?
Again, at the age of 7, 8 years old, and that's from their older siblings who are they're in the room with their older sibling friends who are talking about this, who might be showing off what knives that they have. And the youngster is just watching and observing what's in this space. Now, it doesn't help when the media and the authority, the police, shows the type of knives that they're taking off the street. What's happened there is that when the youngsters see the kind of Rambo knives and the dangerous sort of knives that are out there, they look at themselves and say, well, we've got to step our game up. I've got to get one of those because, I'm not in the game if I haven't got something horrendous as that around them. The only difference is, back in my days, people used to take those Rambo's knife out to frighten people. Now they take them out to murder people. And they're getting younger. And as I said, it's to get into the psyche of young people. And what I find work most effectively is letting young people check in with themselves, where they are emotionally. And when they're making decisions, if they're making it from a dark space, I don't often get good outcome. So why should they? So I'm saying it's important that people do check in with their mental awareness, mental toughness. Yes, we do need to make parents aware, but I think to watch out for the signs and to check in their children's bedrooms on a regular basis if they have any fear that the children might be involved.
It's really good advice there, Ken. And this really is an epidemic in our country. And I'm glad to see some of the figures do show that there is a drop in it. But unfortunately, compared to how it was 20 years ago, I think it's still actually rising dramatically. Yeah. But Knife Crime campaigner Ken Hines, thank you so much for chatting to us this morning about this really important issue, not just for this channel, but to the people across this country as well.
Thank you, Ken. Well, it gives us a lot to think about, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, so it's good time now for our daily reflection.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Welcome to the Anglican parish of St Andrews, Wimbledon, where I serve as the vicar. Good writers and movie directors know that specific numbers and details in a story aren't just an accident. Ancient authors, if anything, were even more deliberate about details than we are. So when Matthew tells the story of when Jesus fed 5,000 people, starting with just 5 loaves and 2 fish, and he records that exactly 12 baskets of food were left over afterwards, that number seems significant. Why 12? To a Jewish audience, 12 was the number of the tribes of Israel. That was the full compass of God's people. And here we have 12 disciples collecting up these leftover baskets. The symbolism is telling a story, because the account is so simple. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. They all ate, and there was more left over, more than they started with. Christians believe this is a window, a self-portrait of how God gives and how God will save. He's not stingy. It's not barely sufficient, but it's overflowing beyond all accounting. And so the miracle doesn't just feed a crowd. It tells us who is this one and what is he doing through what he's feeding. It's creating a whole new people, calling these new disciples to be the means by which he would call more people with more than enough for each of them to have. That's why there were 12.
There you have it. What a lovely daily reflection. I read this about abundance, about joy, it's about being appreciative of what you've got.
It's a nice way to start the week.
It is. To
be appreciative of what we have.
Certainly is.
Now, 6:31. If you're travelling to work or school this morning, here's your traffic and travel update. Actually, no one's in school.
No one's in
summer
school.
holidays.
Yeah.
If you're travelling to work, here's your traffic and travel update.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M25 anti-clockwise is closed between junctions 16 and 15 in Poyle. The A428 is closed after the A1 near St Neots. The A1 southbound is closed after the A52 in Grantham. North of the border, the M8 is restricted in both directions between junctions 16 and 18 in Glasgow due to bridge repair works causing delays. Across Wales, reduced train services are running between Newport and Cardiff Central. And on the trains, Cross Country and Great Western Railway have reduced services between Newport and Cardiff Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Aidan's here with all the sport. Aidan, what's coming up?
Well, the Cut Price Commonwealth Games is over in Glasgow for another 4 years, but does it have a future in the long term? We'll be discussing this and more after the break.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And tune in as your favourite presenters are live across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Tune in this Thursday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Costello, every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition, from 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's sports time. Aidan McGee is here with us. Morning.
Aidan. Good morning. Can we start with Commonwealth Games?
Yes, let's
do that. Well, I say start, it's not really the right
it's
word.
The end.
Because it's the end. Yesterday we had a glittering opening ceremony last night in Glasgow. Fair play to them, Ellie, because they produced a cut price games at £150 million. At short notice, the Melbourne State of Victoria pulled out, having been told it would cost around about £1 billion, and it shot up to about, well, in excess of £3.1 billion after that. This is an 11-day event. It should not cost anything like...
Crazy.
Into the billions. I mean, even if you cut it back to £150 million, divide that over 11, you're still talking about more than £100 million per day. Oof. And as we look back on it, yeah, the sport was okay in parts, but it was mostly others kind of novelty coverage, wasn't it? Like bad injuries or AI boxing judges, that kind of stuff. And that's because some of the main athletes pulled out even before it started, because it clashes with other events. Katharina Johnson-Thompson pulled out, Dina Asher-Smith pulled out as well. And next up is Ahmedabad in India in 2030. They, again, are going to have to do it on a budget as well, because there isn't the appetite for these events anymore, quite simply. I mean, 434,000 tickets were sold for this event compared to 1.5 million in Birmingham. As Ellie pointed out last week, it is mostly indoor now, so the capacity of the events are restricted. But maybe that's the future. If you're going to present these grandiose plans to these organisations and to these areas of the Commonwealth who can't really afford to do it, we don't want it to become like Eurovision, do we, where you win it and then the price of winning it is that you bankrupt yourself the following year by hosting it. That's how it used to be anyway. I mean, Ireland back with Eurovision, I'm going off a tangent slightly here, but they won it 3 years in a row back in the 90s, and they almost put in a dud entry the year after because they didn't want to win it anymore. So we don't want the Commonwealth Games to become like that, but you know, I think there needs to be a serious discussion about the coverage as well. The BBC had a relationship with the Commonwealth Games going back 72 years. Now, one of the reasons they lost it is because they were putting stuff on the red button, and so people were unable to find it. And now it's even worse with TNT taking over, because literally no one knows where to find it.
I have to admit, Aidan, I barely knew it was going on until the weekend.
Well, I'm a sports reporter, and I didn't pick up on much of it either. There's been other stuff going on, of course there has. But in terms of the timing should be all right. We're in silly season now, so it should get more coverage.
It is very close to the World Cup.
It's close to the World Cup, yeah, exactly. And, you know, the build-up is like, well, we've had the Infantino story, which hasn't helped them. But look, 11 days, thousands of happy fans. The problem with it as well, Ellie, it's too focused on athletics. Athletics has an image problem. There's no question about that. Going back to the 90s and 2000s, it was riddled with drugs. I mean, there was a report back in, I think it was the 88 Seoul Olympics, when Ben Johnson was stripped of his gold medal. I mean, we're going back a few years here, but it later turned out that nearly every competitor on the line that day was associated with drugs in some ways. Slowly, the broadcasters pulled away in the 2000s, didn't make a big song and dance about it, but when you cannot guarantee the sanctity of those races, advertisers, sponsors, broadcasters eventually don't want to know. And that's why tennis has got a really serious problem at the moment, because if they keep placating drugs cheats, as they have done in the last 2 or 3 years, then they're going to pay for it, because eventually people will start to think, what are we watching here?
But let's talk about someone who also is, breaking the sanctity of a game, Gianni Infantino.
Well, he's surviving. He's surviving, and people are really... Well, because not enough people know the framework of FIFA and world football. Yeah. We always look at it through the prism of UEFA, because they run the Champions League. They've got all the sexy nations, the 55 nations that we care about at the World Cup, beyond one or two in South America. But they only account for 90 of the 211 member states on the FIFA Council. And so, yes, OK, they may be against Infantino, but what about Asia? They've pledged their support to him, and it's no wonder. He gave the World Cup to Qatar. He's given another one to Saudi. So if he puts money in their pockets and generates wealth for them and promises lots of these organisations £30 million for supporting him, then don't rule out the fact that he's going to get backing. It was exactly the same with Sepp Blatter back in 2015. Oh, he's gone now. He's gone. He can't last another week. He kept fighting and fighting. Infantino knows that when the Premier League gets underway in a week or two's time, when we see the domestic leagues around Europe and elsewhere getting underway, we will not be talking about football governance stories which belong on the back page, not on the front page, by the way.
Good point. Very, very good point.
OK, Aidan, thank you very much. We'll see you again in the next hour. Thank you.
Certainly will. All right, still to come, is the education system doing enough for young people who don't follow traditional academic routes?
Well, we're going to get into that and much more in today's papers. Oh, here we go. Morning, you two, with Dawn Neeson, who's lounged out on the sofa there, and James Rampton. Morning, you two.
OK, let's get the forecast for our top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's turning more humid over the next few days in the UK, but it's even hotter across the Mediterranean, and the dry and sunny weather is set to continue for most through the week ahead. There may well be a slight downturn in temperatures compared to recent weeks across parts of Portugal and Spain, but we'll still see highs in the low 30s. There may well be one or two isolated afternoon showers and thunderstorms across the Pyrenees, the Alps and down the spine of Italy, but many coastal resorts in Italy, the Balkans, Greece and Turkey will stay fine, sunny and very hot through much of the week ahead.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Should James Bond stay white and male?
Yes, I think that's probably the best course of action. If you think about it, Amazon have taken over Bond about a year ago, and they're a big company, aren't they? And this is a risk, isn't it? They don't want to be seen to cast their first James Bond in anything other than the most popular Bond to everybody. So if you're a casting director, like Debbie McWilliams has said, the previous one, I suppose it'd be who would be the most popular? What's the safest thing to do? So I think, in other iterations, there's nothing to say it couldn't be anything other than white, but this is the first one back, so I think it will be the safe thing to do. And it has to be a man. That's non-negotiable. I think audiences would instantly be complaining, and they want as little controversy going into this new film as they can.
The People's Channel. Martin Daubney. Weekdays from 3 p.m.
With the football, a row has erupted. A racism row again, this time at a Kent secondary school after pupils' children were allegedly told to scrub painted England flags from their arms because, you've guessed it, they were deemed as racist. Is this the woke flag monitors simply spoiling everybody's fun?
Now, look, if we are going to police flags, that's clearly a problem. I think there are lots of people who feel negatively towards the England flag because of what it's represented in the past, and that's a real shame. But it's nice to see that new generations, I'm the son of immigrants, and I don't feel that. I haven't inherited that, and that's really positive. Look, so we should be able to, especially during a football match, fly that flag with pride and enjoy it.
I know that part of the world a little bit. I travelled to Broadstairs, Thanet, Sandwich. You see the Union flag, and particularly the England flag, everywhere.
Yes.
Even under normal circumstances, you see the England flag being proudly flown. So this is completely insane.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
There was a Ryanair flight from Thessaloniki in Greece, and a part of the plane hit the window and pulled it out. And so this man, a 61-year-old Serbian man, was sucked out of the window. And his wife, she says that she was desperately holding onto his legs to keep him inside the plane for 5 minutes. Wow. It was horrendous. Apparently the aircraft did eventually land normally and passengers were safe and a replacement airline was sent. He was taken to hospital with friction burns. It was a part of the propeller had come loose from the engine and it had hit the window, and that's what had taken the window out. So it wasn't as though it was thought to be loose in the first place. But can you imagine?
No.
I mean,
I don't want to.
Unbelievable.
I'm
not a good flyer, I have to admit. This terrifies me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And tune in as your favourite presenters are live across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Tune in this Thursday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 6:45. Let's take a look at the newspaper front pages on this Monday morning.
Let's do it. Firstly, in the Telegraph, one of Britain's most senior police officers has warned that the early prisoner release scheme may put neighbourhood policing at risk, Ellie.
The Conservatives have told the government to ditch the disastrous pro-union strike laws or risk sending Britain back to the 1970s. That's the front page of the Daily Mail this morning.
And in the Times, Education Secretary Lucy Powell has claimed that forcing schools to prioritise academic learning has led to 1 million young people not in formal study, training or work.
The rip-off, that's on the front page of The Sun, after it's revealed that taxpayers pay an estimated £8,000 for each small boat migrant who is stopped by French police.
And finally, according to the iPaper, 2/3 of public support a wealth tax on assets worth more than £10 million.
Lots to go through
It's a good one.
Dawn Neeson and James Rampton this morning. Morning, you. Good morning. Dawn, let's look at something totally different, actually, first. This is in the Times this morning on its front page. The toll of the schooling straitjacket. Tell us more.
Yeah, this is Education Secretary Lucy Powell has given an interview to the Times today saying that the reason we have so many youngsters not in education, in employment or training is because we've concentrated too much on the academic approach to education. This would be the academic approach that Michael Gove championed and encouraged kids to go back to learning maths, English and the basic subjects rather than, I don't know, whatever they were meant to be learning. Now, Lucy Powell has come in. She's been in the job for 2 weeks and she has gone reverse ferret on that one and said, no, too much concentrating on academia. We need to teach kids more our useful practical skills. Now, two things can exist side by side, I think, personally. I mean, if a child isn't academic, encourage them to learn the basics, because all children need to learn maths and English, etc., etc. But also introduce some practical skills to the classroom so they can do woodwork and metal and metalwork and things like that. The two things should be able to work together. And I'd like to see her workings on this, the actual figures behind it, because she's blaming Michael Gove's academic policy. I personally think COVID lockdowns had a lot to do with the fact that children education has suffered so much. I don't think it's Michael Gove's academia. And I think the one person I would always listen to on this is Catherine Burblesing, the headmistress of Michaela Community School. And she said the biggest lie we tell in education is that things are too academic. And she points out that our pupils only need to score 20% to achieve a pass in GCSE maths. And she goes, what level of academia are we talking when the pass mark is that low? So I think, Lucy Powell's got a point. Yes, actually not all kids are academic, but we need to include both things in the curriculum.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's really sensible. And I think there is a problem now we've got, James, where we're heading towards a world where the skills that you would need to sit in an office and use a computer are becoming irrelevant, essentially, because of artificial intelligence. So there's this now massive panic, despite people saying this to the government for a decade that this is going to happen. Now they're going, maybe we should train people to be builders, because otherwise the unemployment rate is going to be sky high.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Dawn that we need to be more flexible. But I have a personal interest in this. My wife is an English teacher, and she says that the system is far too rigid. There are lots and lots of brilliant children who want to be plumbers, who want to be hairdressers, who have to have GCSE English. A major part of GCSE English is a practical criticism of a piece of Victorian literature. How is that going to help you be a plumber or a hairdresser? It's completely irrelevant, but you cannot get onto the next level unless you get a 4 pass in GCSE. She says that's ridiculous. It should be functional skills. There is a functional skills paper. It's not seen as quite so prestigious, but you learn how to write emails, how to write letters to a boss, how to interact with people. There's a speaking part of it. She said far more people should be offered that as an option, because that's going to help them progress into the career that they can really help society with.
Even I was just looking at AI the other day. There's a lot of predictions that suggest even writing will become a thing of the past, as young people will start using glasses, which they can just talk to artificial intelligence, then it can send emails on your behalf, it can send texts on your behalf.
That's what my glasses are doing.
Well, there you go.
And Dawn's, I think. Yeah.
I think it's incredibly sad for youngsters today. I mean, very few of them read books now. Very few adults read books now as well. And I think reading and writing are some of the greatest pleasures we can have in life. And I think teaching youngsters the basic skills. And I appreciate what your wife's saying, but I do think, critical thinking when it comes to literature, it's a useful skill. It applies to so many other areas in life. Absolutely. And thinking things through. So it's the kids I feel sorry for. 2 minutes ago it was Michael Gove in academia. Now it's Lucy Powell, by the way, a career politician who went to Oxbridge. And sort of go and learn to be a plumber. I mean, we should be both combined.
Yes.
James, only got about a minute left, but if you could tell us about this pact Rupert Lowe offering.
Yeah, this is really
Unite
interesting.
the right.
Sorry, yes, it's really interesting because they were very much at daggers drawn when Rupert Lowe left Reform UK, and there was a lot of accusations flying backward and forwards. He's now saying we can have a pact that will, as you say, unite the right, but there are lots of conditions to this deal. He will only agree to it, Rupert Lowe, if Nigel Farage agrees to mass deportations, a ban on the burqa, a referendum on the death penalty, and crucially he says we should not allow any ex-Tories to be in government. Hello, Robert Jenrick and Suella Braverman.
And Danny Kruger and Andrew Rosendale.
Exactly. I mean, there's quite a number of them now, so is it still part of his animus against Farage or against Tories, certainly? Is it his way of trying to score points again? I mean, we've seen in the recent by-election that if Restore and Reform did unite, that would make a difference. So it's a good idea, but will the conditions be too much?
But we'll get more into this in the next hour, because there's a lot to unpack there, isn't there?
There certainly is.
But thank you both. We'll see you for a longer papers review in the next hour.
Yeah, there's been calls for it for a long time as well, haven't there? Anyway, thank you very much, you two.
Here's a British giveaway.
Welcome to Orla Santi by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating a golden summer. And you could be enjoying a golden year with an incredible £60,000 to be won. That's tax-free cash that you'll get to spend on anything you like. What would you do with it? You could relax knowing that we've got those day-to-day financial pressures sorted. Or find yourself celebrating in the lap of five-star luxury, somewhere like here, the Spritzeria. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 that you can keep or gift to a loved one. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2 £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, a new study has suggested that older women are more eager to live life to the fullest. Men would just like to live, apparently.
Well, yeah, that'd be nice.
We're going to get into all of that later on in the programme, so you'd stay tuned for that.
Here's your weather, though.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's going to be a hot and muggy day for some parts of England and Wales, and a quite humid picture elsewhere too, with the potential for some rain or showers, mainly in the north of the UK today, and more particularly Scotland. So a pretty damp start to the day for the central belt, and the rain will gradually push its way ever so slightly further north as we go through into this afternoon. Showers will form across Northern Ireland and southern Scotland too, and there may well be just one or two very isolated hit and miss showers across England and Wales, but here it's mostly about the heat and humidity. A really hot day across the southeast of England in particular, the mid-30s Celsius possible, and quite likely the low 30s more widely across England and the east of Wales. The potential is there also for one or two late afternoon and evening showers, possibly thunderstorms, so don't take the graphics too literally. We could see one or two showers further south and east than these graphics suggest, but generally speaking it'll be the further north and west you come where the greater the chance of seeing some rain this evening, more especially across Scotland, but the rain will tend to become more showery away from the north as we go towards the second half of the day. A pretty humid picture, though, through this evening, wherever you are, an increasing chance of some longer spells of rain developing, some heavy outbreaks perhaps for parts of North Wales, but generally the chance of rain or showers in many northern and western parts of the UK overnight tonight. Further south and east staying largely dry, but again, the chance of one or two heavy showers or thunderstorms. An uncomfortably warm night for sleeping, quite humid, temperatures perhaps staying in the high teens Celsius in some southern areas. Now for Tuesday, it's going to be a slightly less hot and humid day for most, and certainly a pretty wet day across parts of northern Scotland. An increasingly breezy picture here, the winds funneling down through the Irish Sea as well later in the day. The chance of some scattered showers breaking out pretty much anywhere across the UK, but that chance is lowest towards the south and the east. And here we'll hold on to some heat. Temperatures might well approach 30 degrees Celsius in the east of England, but cooler for most.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M4 westbound is affected by a collision between junctions 18 and 19 in Bath. The A428 is closed after the A1 near St Neots. The A1 southbound is closed after the A52 in Grantham. The M25 clockwise between junctions 5 and 6 in Sevenoaks has caution advised, while the anti-clockwise carriageway between junctions 6 and 5 has an obstruction. North of the border, the A90 at Finnevon is restricted both ways due to planned roadworks. And on the trains, cross-country and Great Western Railway services have reduced service between Newport and Cardiff Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome to All is Santi by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating with an incredible £60,000 to be won. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Costello. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Reform UK says it will launch what it calls the largest military operation in the English Channel since the Second World War in order to stop the small boats.
Well, Nigel Farage says a Reform government would deploy the Royal Navy to intercept migrant boats and return them to France or Belgium under plans dubbed Operation Fortress.
While the proposal comes as more than 2,000 people have crossed the Channel since Andy Burnham became Prime Minister, with the government insisting its own approach is beginning to reduce crossings compared with this time last year.
We're just going to be relentless. People want to see this issue addressed.
And Britain could be heading for a recession if the war in the Middle East drags on. That's according to a stark new economic warning.
Elsewhere today, Reform UK wants to scrap taxpayer funding for what it calls woke degrees. Should students pay for them instead? We're going to be debating that very shortly.
And one of Britain's biggest sporting traditions is underway as thousands of sailors descend on the Isle of Wight for Cows Week.
The Commonwealth Games drew to a close in Glasgow last night. We'll look back on the event and discuss whether it has a future. And in battle, FIFA President Gianni Infantino plots a path to survival. Join me later.
Heard there's another heat wave on the way? Find out just how high temperatures are going to get where you live in your full forecast coming up.
Good morning. It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is GB News Breakfast.
You didn't like it, did you?
No.
My trigger warning.
No.
When we spoke about it at 6 o'clock, nursery rhymes are sexist and they are reinforcing gender stereotypes. This is according to academics in Pakistan. They've issued this warning to parents, saying that some nursery rhymes could reinforce gender stereotypes and they need to be cautious about singing them to their children.
It is absolutely absurd.
It's pretty bonkers.
It's absurd. Which one's the most sexist one?
So Jack and Jill Went Up the Hill is problematic because it places the male character first.
That's because
symbolising leadership.
Jill rhymes with hill and Jack doesn't. What do these academics in Pakistan not understand?
No, it's a fantastic point. Also, Little Miss Muffet in Little Bo Peep portrays femininity as emotionally weak because a spider frightens her.
Oh, for goodness
And the
sake.
fact that she doesn't know where to find them implies confusion and dependence. So also problematic because she looks like a silly woman.
Tell you what's problematic? These people putting out nonsense like this, dividing the country up.
It was a big study, apparently, in Pakistan.
So all studies are big.
All studies are big. So there you go. Let us know what you make of that. Are nursery rhymes sexist? Do they reinforce gender stereotypes? I think we know what you're going to say to all of that.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think anyway. We'll read some of them out.
It's made us laugh this morning anyway. gbnews.com/you'll say. Let us know what you think.
All right. Well, Reform UK has committed to using the Royal Navy to seal off Channel migrants, of course, those ones coming over on the small boats, pledging the biggest military operation in the English Channel since the Second World War.
Well, Operation Fortress, as it's being named, would intercept all migrant boats and return them to France or Belgium. It comes after more than 60,000 migrants from Morocco descended on a tiny Spanish enclave in just a matter of hours.
Well, this comes as the Prime Minister has vowed to be relentless in tackling the number of migrants crossing the English Channel on small boats. That's as more than 2,000 have made the journey since Andy Burnham became Prime Minister.
Well, the Prime Minister says there's still a lot more to do.
We're just going to be relentless. People want to see this issue addressed. I heard that on the doorsteps in Makerfield. But we also need to build a system that offers safe routes for people as well, because that also takes away the selling point of the gangs. So on every level, we've got to come at this, but crucially, increasing the enforcement activity. So there's been a doubling of enforcement officers through the National Crime Agency.
Well, we're joined now by former Conservative Migration Minister Tom Pursglove. Very good morning to you, Tom. You have been there, you've got experience of all of this. What do you make of Reform's plans? Will they work?
Well, look, I'm always in favour of people coming forward with ideas, and it's right that Reform are given the opportunity to set out what their plans are today, and you won't find anybody more desperate for us to finally resolve this issue than me. But there's a number of challenges around all of this, not least because the sort of theory that you can rely upon French cooperation to resolve this in full has been tested to destruction. And what we've seen time and time again is that subcontracting this out to France, expecting that the French are going to cooperate and that you're going to be able to just suddenly stop all these crossings from happening in the first place is for the birds. And something like this certainly requires a high degree of French cooperation if you're going to make it work, because at the receiving end, they need to be able to take back these individuals. And, for example, what would happen in the event that the French didn't agree to that, they didn't cooperate, they impound your ships? How do you then go back and repeat that action and do it again? You need a drumbeat of activity in order to stop this, not just one event on any given day in order to really get to grips with the problem and put a stop to it.
Saying this in the last hour, Tom, and totally hear where you're coming from, and a lot of people say the same thing, actually. This is just an impossible thing to do, actually. It's not going to solve the problem. It's particularly how big the channel is. Would we even have enough boats to stop them at this point, even if it was some sort of, blockade of the English Channel? But is there not a feeling in Britain now, particularly after Chris Philp, I think, did a fantastic job last week. He was actually live with us on the beach as these migrants were pouring onto boats. He highlighted a problem that British people feel is going on, which is the gendarmes are standing around. We're paying them £500 million in the latest deal to do something. They clearly are, in many cases, not saying all cases, but many cases, not doing anything. We've then got charity workers potentially or allegedly helping migrants as well. People just feel like the French aren't bothered at all. So, middle fingers up to them and just get on with it. Maybe we should put the Navy in the water, and it doesn't matter what the French think of it, we'll just get on and do it.
The challenge you've got is that this is the busiest shipping lane anywhere in the world, and you've got criminal gangs that have no regard whatsoever for human life, and they adapt their tactics. And so what you would likely see is a response to this sort of thing. I mean, are you really going to pull a warship up next to a unseaworthy vessel that's probably taking on water already, where you've got children strategically placed who would likely end up in the water, including women and babies? That is not that's just not an acceptable situation to be in. So if you ask me, the better approach to this is to sort of take the French cooperation out of the picture, because we know at best what it does is stops people making these crossings in the first place for a period of time, and they likely inevitably end up coming because they managed to get round it and thwart the tactics eventually. But if you can focus in on the thing that I think all of us can agree on the right of politics, which is detaining and removing every last individual, if you change the law, if you have this ECHR dealt with, if you deal with the conventions, that reduces the moving parts that you've got in the system where things can go wrong. It is a much safer way of dealing with this, and people would expect, and they should know, that if they arrive here, they'll be detained, and within a week they'll either be removed back to country of origin or back to a third country like Rwanda. That's the right approach to this, I think.
So you would like to see a restart of the Rwanda scheme?
100%. I mean, it was ahead of its time. Public opinion has moved enormously. I think it's the baseline, really, of where public opinion sits. And it's also interesting that these tactics on the water were not something that Rob and Suella did when they were Home Secretary and Immigration Minister, respectively. What they have been really clear about is around the ECHR, around the need to detain, around the need to remove. And I agree with them. And things like the steps that Germany's taking to begin to remove people back to countries like Afghanistan are welcome steps in the right direction. Exactly the sort of action that we should be taking as well. I think, as I say, the more you can reduce down your reliance on the French, on the European Union to solve this, the more of this you can take into your own control and get on and do, I think the greater the chances of success.
Yeah, I think that whilst I don't disagree with you, Tom, I think many people in the British public will go, wait, hang on a second, we try that and it never got over the line. There was all these legal challenges, there's all this confusion around it. I think people might just get to the point where they feel, right, come on, let's do something bit bold and big. But you're right, I mean, perhaps it is just a more detailed version of a plan we actually need.
Yeah.
Tom, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you very much.
And I think the images from the tail end of last week has actually moved public opinion on this. I think a lot of people will be thinking differently and thinking something needs to be done urgently.
We saw the government put out a tweet after, first of all, gaslighting everyone, saying that, oh, no, this is all rubbish, what you've basically seen with Chris Philp. We're deporting all of them, 70,000 people, which when you dig into the numbers isn't true, at least the way they want to sell it to you. And then they put out another tweet the next day going, we've deployed 1,000 staff to the French beaches. You just can't make it up. Can't make it up.
Anyway, keep your views coming in, gbnews.com/you'll say. Just this one, for a touch of lightness this morning from Sarah. We're talking about nursery rhymes and whether they're what were they saying? Misogynistic and reinforcing gender stereotypes and all the rest. Anyway, Sarah says, you could always have Jackie and Phil went up the hill, if you're that woke. That way a woman is leading rather than a man.
Yeah, I think I'll take a day off, Sarah.
Vincent also says just replace Jack with Bill.
Right.
And there we go. Jill first. There you go, job done.
There you go. All right, let's move on to some real news. Britain's economy could slip into recession if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed until the middle of next year.
Yes, this is new analysis which says growth could slow to 0.5% this year before the economy shrinks by 0.2% in 2027.
Well, it says the continued disruption would drive up energy and oil prices, hitting households and businesses.
Well, we're joined now by political commentator Oscar Reddrop. Oscar, this is another headache for the Prime Minister, isn't it?
It's a huge headache, and actually, it's funny, the quite retail-y, I would say, easily understandable, accessible, I would say relatively, not to minimise too much, but relatively small fry cost of living measures that the Prime Minister announced in his first week. You can suddenly start to see how the seriousness and the complexity of the situation over in Iran and how it affects this country, how all of a sudden those really, you know, again, not trying to minimise too much because he wants to provide breathing space and breathing room, which I think is obviously a good thing. But you can see how they could almost be rendered obsolete so quickly with inflation. This is what EY are saying, you know, potentially doubling if the Strait of Hormuz remains shut into next year, to the back end of this year and early next. And that is, you know, it's all very well. He's had a very lovely, cushy kind of couple first weeks, I think. You know, he's very good on social media. And again, like the bus fare cap, and, you know, it's good stuff. But it will be utterly meaningless and ultimately won't feel serious. It just will not feel serious relatively soon, is my concern. And I have to say, the other thing that, you know, we've just talked, you know, at length about the challenges around illegal immigration into this country, where it feels very threadbare, the policy on that. We then look at the economy and ultimately growing our economy. I've had nothing on that as yet. I've had no, I mean, yeah, the devolution a little bit, but again, you know, it's interesting, you know, if we devolve responsibility and power to you, but it's not Labour policy, we're not too sure about that. So I think there's an issue there. But I've heard very little strategy in terms of how we grow our economy and how we remain resilient. I have seen nothing on that as yet.
Yeah, well, on top of that, we've got a drought we're facing at the moment, which is terrible for farmers. And part of the problem with the Strait of Hormuz being closed is very good fertiliser comes out of that as well. So we could, if this war does rage on, we could be looking at a double whammy of an economic stagnation, food shortages, and a over-reliance on other nations to send us more of their precious resources, which they won't have very much of either.
I'm only half laughing there because you just realise the stakes here. Yeah. How serious this world is, how serious our place in it is, and how fragile it is, if it will feel for people. And that's why when, you see so many commentators and, people, in Westminster say, oh, hasn't Burnham got off to a brilliant start? I'd say it's almost like, to use a football analogy, he's like, it's pre-season. Yeah, and he's the manager of a new team and they've won a few pre-season games maybe. But we are not deep into winter, where the stakes like you've just run through here. See how he faces up to those challenges. Because I have to say, I think, yes, we talked about illegal immigration for one huge issue, but it is our economy. It is not necessarily the retail cost of living offerings that are still, even though they're relatively humble, still feel unfunded at this point. It is the high-stakes economic decisions that will have to be made at the back end of this year. And until then, I completely reserve judgment on Andy Burnham as Prime Minister.
Oscar, good to see you. Thank you very much.
I wonder if Oscar's going to miss Keir Starmer in a few months, actually, at this rate. There you go.
It's feeling a little bit more likely, I think, maybe.
He's reserving judgment for now. Oscar, thank you.
Okie dokie. Should we have a look at some of the news stories coming into the newsroom?
Yes, let's, because 2 people have sadly died after 2 helicopters collided mid-air while battling wildfires in Greece. A Danish and a Greek national were killed, while a Greek and a British national survived. More than 100 homes northwest of Athens have been destroyed, with nearby villages evacuated.
As Donald Trump says the United States and Iran have reached a deal over the Strait of Hormuz, with more talks due today. The claim comes after the United States president described what he called them as massive strikes on Iran and called them off over the weekend.
The US singer Ariana Grande has announced that she's taking a break from public life. It's due to scrutiny over her health. A representative for the Wicked star said she's withdrawn from a theatre production in London in 2027 and would finish her current tour healthily and happily.
All right, let's take a look at the weather with Tom Morgan.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's going to be a hot and muggy day for some parts of England and Wales, and a quite humid picture elsewhere too, with the potential for some rain or showers, mainly in the north of the UK today, and more particularly Scotland. So a pretty damp start to the day for the central belt, and the rain will gradually push its way ever so slightly further north as we go through into this afternoon. Showers will form across Northern Ireland and southern Scotland too, and there may well be just 1 or 2 very isolated hit and miss showers across England and Wales. But here is mostly about the heat and humidity. A really hot day across the southeast of England in particular, the mid-30s Celsius possible, and quite likely the low 30s more widely across England and the east of Wales. The potential is there also for 1 or 2 late afternoon and evening showers, possibly thunderstorms, so don't take the graphics too literally. We could see 1 or 2 showers further south and east than these graphics suggest, but generally speaking it'll be the further north and west you come where the greater the chance of seeing some rain this evening, more especially across Scotland, but the rain will tend to become more showery away from the north as we go towards the second half of the day. A pretty humid picture, though, through this evening, wherever you are. An increasing chance of some longer spells of rain developing, some heavy outbreaks perhaps for parts of North Wales, but generally the chance of rain or showers in many northern and western parts of the UK overnight tonight. Further south and east staying largely dry, but again, the chance of 1 or 2 heavy showers or thunderstorms. An uncomfortably warm night for sleeping, quite humid, temperatures perhaps staying in the high teens Celsius in some southern areas. Now for Tuesday, it's going to be a slightly less hot and humid day for most, and certainly a pretty wet day across parts of northern Scotland. An increasingly breezy picture here, the winds funneling down through the Irish Sea as well later in the day. The chance of some scattered showers breaking out pretty much anywhere across the UK, but that chance is lowest towards the south and the east. And here we'll hold on to some heat. Temperatures might well approach 30 degrees Celsius in the east of England, but cooler for most.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello. Yes, at least it is set to be another really good week.
It is, yes. It's lovely, lovely weather.
Yeah.
But enjoy it while it lasts, because winter is rapidly approaching. One of the things about doing these early mornings is just seeing it getting darker and darker.
I
in the
noticed that as well this morning.
Yeah, it's very dark today.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come. The Reform Education spokesperson, Suella Braverman, says university courses like gender studies and critical race theory should no longer be publicly funded. So we are asking this morning, should students have to pay for woke degrees? We're debating it next.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 7:21. Now, students studying certain university courses could lose access to taxpayer-backed loans under a Reform UK government.
A Reform Education spokeswoman Suella Braverman says subjects like gender studies, critical race theory and queer theory would no longer be publicly funded, arguing they offer poor graduate outcomes.
But should so-called Mickey Mouse degrees lose access to student finance? That's our debate this morning. And joining us to debate this is former president of the Oxford Union, James Price, and CEO of the Higher Education Policy Institute, Nick Hillman. Very good morning to you, gentlemen. James Price, we'll go to you first. You will certainly have a view on this one. Should students be forced to pay for their own, inverted commas, Mickey Mouse degrees?
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea, don't you? I should say I was also a special advisor in the Department for Education and saw that some of the poor outcomes that actually come when people study these things. It's not just the kind of easy hits, although it will be fun for me in a second to read out perhaps some of the studies that I've seen some of these departments coming out with. The queer natures, animal environment and modern sexual knowledge production about gay animals, for example. There's a lot of those silly ones we could do. But even courses that are not these sort of quote-unquote woke ones are things that don't produce good outcomes for people in the real world. It's not like there's a gender studies factory that's just opened up down the road that I can apply that degree into, for example. So I think that we need to get rid of the woke stuff first, but also realise that we've got too many people going to university now to study degrees that don't help them in their souls, in their minds, in their hearts, in their lives, let alone out there in the workplace.
All right, let's pass that straight over to you, Nick. What did you make of what James was saying there?
Well, of course, it's absolutely true that people who go to university should be able to get good quality jobs afterwards. But this is a completely fake row. I mean, she's going after, for example, queer theory degrees. I mean, I've just been on the UCAS site. I can't find a single queer theory undergraduate course anywhere in the country. I found one master's course. So this is the first significant education statement from Reform UK for a very long time, the first since Suella took on the role. And it's not, I mean, it's just not serious politics, you know, and the people who do some of these courses where they exist, you know, sub courses of bigger courses, they're not the same people who would otherwise be doing engineering degrees, which is what she's leading us to believe, that if they're not going off and doing sociology, they'll suddenly become the engineers of tomorrow. Well, that's not going to happen because they don't have the right A levels and the right GCSEs to become engineers.
So the Telegraph have identified more than 35 examples of masters, PhDs and other postgraduate courses in gender studies being run at UK universities. So Nick, you specifically picked out the queer theory, which fair enough if there's just one on the UCAS, but there's at least 35 here. Master's students can receive a loan of £13,000 a year from the government, while PhD students can receive £30,000. A lot of the time, people can't pay those back, and that's part of the conversation here. Is that actually people go to do these degrees, these masters, exceptionally expensive thing to do. They end up in debt. They end up begging the government to remove that debt because they can't get jobs, and we're seeing that play itself out now on a national scale, where young people are riddled with so much debt that actually we just going to have to write it off at some point, because it's basically like having a mortgage.
Certainly, Suella wants us to believe that that is how the system works. In fact, postgraduate degrees do get repaid back. They have a lower repayment threshold. They have different repayment conditions to the undergraduate degrees. And these things that she's going after, as I say, they by and large don't really exist at an undergraduate level as whole degree programs. So, you know, she's won the headlines, but if she wants to be education secretary and to preside over a completely different sort of university system to the one we've got, well, this is playing in the weeds. This is not serious education reform.
James, is this serious to you, or is it just a storm in a teacup?
Well, it's a necessary but not sufficient part of, I think, reforming both the education sector and obviously the fiscal problem that Britain's got. It'd be a cop-out for me to say, look, we're £3 trillion in debt with no defence right now. Why are we wasting money on this? Because obviously that's not going to touch the sides, even though it's an important thing, I think, to do. Nick is right that there are not a lot of undergraduate degrees that are called, come here and you'll study, queer studies or this, that and the other. But I used to employ someone who's got a philosophy degree from a very, very good Russell Group university and seemed to spend most of their time doing modules on all this kind of postmodernism stuff that made her not understand anything about the country and hate the country and all the rest of it, to the point where they thought that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves of England, and they came out with a degree that said BA philosophy, for example. So I think there's an awful lot of rot in there, and you've only got to look at the example of the so-called Professor Jason Arday, this sort of serial plagiarist fabulist at Cambridge, who was written, when it's not being plagiarised from other people, complete and utter unreadable tripe, that other people have gone, oh, this guy is so amazing, it's so brilliant, let's get him in to talk to businesses and schools and all the rest of it. And when you listen to any of this stuff, it's just completely worthless rot. And worse than that, I think it makes people hate the civilization and the inheritance that they have got here. And instead of doing that, maybe we should do universities to actually teach people some skills and some knowledge. So when they go out into the real world, let alone maybe go, God forbid, into Westminster politics, they might know something about the country and its inheritance that they seek to govern.
Nick, do you think there's a lot of... sorry, take it away, Nick. Go on.
Well, I just wanted to pick up on one thing there, because we started off this conversation talking about gender studies and queer theory, and we're now talking about philosophy. And James puts his finger on something very important, which is when politicians decide what is a Mickey Mouse course, they all mean something different by it. We've had politicians who've said it's ancient history, classics and archaeology. We've had politicians who've said it's golf course management and equine studies. And the really worrying thing, I think, about the last 24 hours is the idea that politicians should decide what is taught in our universities. universities when we have regulators to do that, the Office for Students, we have peer review, and we don't want we have a new education minister every day almost, it sometimes feels like, and we don't want each one to decide which what subjects universities can teach and what they can't teach. It's a recipe for utter chaos.
Well, there you have it.
Just quickly on that, I half
briefly,
agree.
James.
I don't like the idea of ministers saying what you can and cannot teach. But when it comes to taxpayers funding this sort of stuff or subsidising a lot of it, because in undergraduate cases, lots of these degrees will never be repaid, and so it will sit on the hook for the taxpayer in general. And I think without some of the reforms that the last government did, by 2040, the student loan book would have sat at £500 billion, just to go back into the money of it again. Then I do think some quality control is necessary. And just in general, I'm very philosophically, from my own philosophical studies, against the idea of having independent regulators be in control rather than our elected politicians.
OK, you two, thank you very much this morning for the lovely heated debate there.
Yes.
About what's going on in universities.
Thank you, gentlemen. Lots of you getting in touch this morning. Joe says most degrees are pointless. There's no jobs at the end of it. And Paul Ryder says sociology is an example of a 3-year holiday degree. Absolutely pointless.
Yeah, I think because the world is changing so rapidly, there is a case to be made that we actually need to look at the future and decide that. But in some parts, I think we should talk about philosophy. We should teach kids philosophy. Most of them don't even understand basic politics and critical thinking anymore. And I think actually giving that all to AI is a very worrying trend we might have.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Anyway, let us know your view. You will certainly have on gbnews.com/your say.
Still to come. Aidan's got all your sport. Aidan.
Yes, indeed. He's clinging on to power, but for how much longer can Gianni Infantino survive as FIFA president? We'll discuss this and more after the break.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. There is a collision on the M25 clockwise between junctions 6 and 7 in Godstone. The A1 southbound is closed after the A52 in Grantham. The A428 is closed after the A1 near St Neots. The A282 anti-clockwise at the Dartford crossing is closed. In Scotland, the A78 is closed both directions between Dunlop Street and A8 Ratho Street due to planned roadworks until November 2026. Across Wales, Cross Country and Great Western Railway services have reduced service between Newport and Cardiff Central. And on the trains, delays are reported on these routes. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain. He can say whatever he wants. A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And tune in as your favourite presenters are live across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Tune in this Thursday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And tune in as your favourite presenters are live across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Tune in this Thursday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's sports time. Aidan's here with us. Morning.
Good morning to you both.
Morning.
Can we talk about that man Infantino?
I think
we definitely need to.
Yeah, I mean, look, look, he's proving very difficult to remove, of course. Everyone said, oh, he'll be gone in a couple of days. It doesn't work like that with FIFA because, quite frankly, once you burst through that apparatus and get to the top job, Alex, you're almost unassailable.
Well, is he too powerful now?
Yeah, I think the office has to be reviewed after this because, yes, he is too powerful. It emerged that his two close confidants, one of his special advisors even, resigned last week. Part of the reason for that is because he didn't even tell them his plans to sell off part of the World Cup.
Wow.
He obviously didn't think he needed to. There are no checks and balances on his power, which is why UEFA and other nations and other organisations have to threaten to pull out of the World Cup and do drastic things just to get his attention. And even that isn't enough to remove him. And then it emerges overnight that 4 FIFA organisations in Asia look like they're going to back him as well. And why wouldn't they? He's given a World Cup to Qatar already. He's given a World Cup to Saudi next time out. He is promising £30 million to these federations all around the world who don't have much money, and where £30 million goes a hell of a long way, much further than it goes over here with the FA. As Chris Scudder pointed out at the end of last week, St Vincent and the Grenadines gets as many votes, one, as the FA does in this country, so in these votes. So that's why it needs to be. Look, I'm not saying necessarily that it should be weighted, but the checks and balances on his power are simply not there.
Can I just put this to you though, Aidan? If UEFA, which is the gold standard, isn't it? Right?
Well, yeah,
if
we see it that way, but other organisations don't necessarily.
Well, true, but
and that's our fault as journalists because we present everything through a European prism, but there's far more to it than that.
True, but this is the gold standard.
Yeah.
The best leagues are in Europe.
Without doubt.
And if they all said, do you know what, no, we are pulling everything until this bloke goes, surely that would be enough, right?
Well, yeah, the timing you would think, because we're 4 years out from another World Cup, you would think that would be enough. However, would they do that if the World Cup was a year away? It's a hell of a risk because then suddenly your member nations start getting twitchy and they're thinking, hang on, this hasn't been resolved yet and the World Cup's happening. Also, you've got qualifying. It's not the World Cup doesn't start in 4 years' time. It really starts in 2 years' time.
Yes, yeah.
And if FIFA get their way, I think they want to have a World Cup every 2 years. They want to monetise these things. They've just made $13.8 billion from this. They want the show to happen more than once every 4 years because that's the only event they've got that makes any money.
That's true.
Should we talk about Jack Draper?
Yes.
What's going on?
Well, look, he's got this persistent arm injury. He hasn't competed in a Grand Slam so far, so that's the Australian, the French or Wimbledon so far. It's persistent. He's probably going to need surgery, Alex, but will it actually do any good? Sometimes it's very risky, obviously. Patrick Rafter was an example of somebody in the early 2000s who managed a shoulder injury, but even he said at the time, I've only got a certain number of serves left in it. An arm injury, yeah, of course, is a different part of the body. It could be a different complaint, but medical procedures have moved on, as have sports science. But look, he's been given a wild card for the Montreal Open. There is a 50-50 chance, I would suggest, that he'll compete in the US Open later this month. I think it's August the 23rd. That was the competition, Ellie, where he got to the semi-finals 2 years ago, lost to Yannick Sinner. No disgrace in that because Sinner, of course, went on to win in the final. But you know what? We were just hoping that we would have somebody to pin our hopes on. We're hoping now, though, I suppose with Arthur Ferry coming through at Wimbledon, that we have someone to pin our hopes on after that. Get those flags out, get the bunting out. But let's hope Jack Draper comes back to form pretty soon and shakes off that injury because it can be extremely debilitating.
Yeah. All right, Aidan, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We'll hear hopefully more about the Commonwealth Games as well next time as well, because that's not been too great, has it?
No.
Thanks, Aidan.
Thank you. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, one of Britain's most senior police officers has warned that the early prisoner release scheme may force neighbourhood patrol cuts. In other words, there could be more criminals on the streets, but fewer police officers.
Oh dear. Right, well, we're going to get into that in today's papers with Dawn Neeson and James Rampton. But first, what's going on? Oh.
Very nice, Dawn. Making use of the entire studio there. Very good.
Yeah.
But first, here's your forecast across Europe.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's turning more humid over the next few days in the UK, but it's even hotter across the Mediterranean, and the dry and sunny weather is set to continue for most through the week ahead. There may well be a slight downturn in temperatures compared to recent weeks across parts of Portugal and Spain, but we'll still see highs in the low 30s. There may well be one or two isolated afternoon showers and thunderstorms across the Pyrenees, the Alps and down the spine of Italy, but many coastal resorts in Italy, the Balkans, Greece and Turkey will stay fine, sunny and very hot through much of the week ahead.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Let's talk now to showbiz journalist Nelson Aspen and former US House Advisor Lee Cohen about this conversation. Good evening, gentlemen. Nelson, let me start with you. What has Oprah been criticised for here? Because a lot of people have taken a shot at her watching this interaction.
That's right. Oprah is worth well over $3 billion. She does not need to present a retrospective of her greatest moments, but she is obviously desperate to stay relevant. And in this 1.5 hour special, the Harry and Meghan interview comes in at about 15 minutes. And it was obvious that she needs to backpedal. It is obvious that it was the greatest softball display of favoritism in broadcast history, almost.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Temperatures are set to soar again next week as heat health alerts remain in place across large parts of England. So my favourite meteorologist to talk to ever in life is John Ketley. John, good to see you. Looking very suntanned and gorgeous, it has to be said, in matching pink. John, we've got another heat wave on the way.
Surprise, surprise.
Hey, it's summer.
Yeah, it seems to have been a very prolonged summer this year, didn't it? Obviously, it started early. We started with that very hot weather in May, which is unusual. And then we had further hot weather during June and again in July as well. So it seems a little bit different this year. It's been going on for so long. It's almost as if we've been really, the tentacles of Europe have been extending across the UK, and we've turned into a continental regime, really.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's just a fact of life. You know, I'm of the generation, my grandfathers and great uncles all fought in World War II, but my children, you know, that's not a memory for them. They never met anyone who was in the Holocaust, and we have short memories. We're the TikTok generation. We have, you know, 5 seconds worth of attention we put on anything. So I think it's a good step. UNESCO's had some scandals in the past, or at least they've chosen to recognize things that perhaps I don't think are all that significant, but the D-Day beaches I visited myself a few years back, they're very well preserved, by the way, so I'm not sure how much this adds in terms of resources or what it can really do to increase young people's knowledge of history, but it can't be a bad thing, can it?
I mean, it's an amazing story all around, and it's a story that deserves to be told over and over and over again.
GB News, the People's Channel.
All right, let's take a look at some of the newspaper front pages, shall we?
Yes, on this Monday morning. Firstly, in the Telegraph, one of Britain's most senior police officers has warned that the early prisoner release scheme may put neighbourhood policing at risk.
Surprise, surprise. Well, the Conservatives have told the government to ditch the disastrous pro-union strike laws or risk sending Britain back to the 1970s. That's in the Daily Mail.
In the Times this morning, the Education Secretary, Lucy Powell, has claimed that forcing schools to prioritise academic learning has led to 1 million young people not in formal study, training or work.
Le rip-off. That's on the front page of The Sun. That's after it was revealed that taxpayers pay an estimated £8,000 for each Small boat migrants stopped by French police.
And finally, the iPaper this morning, 2/3 of the public support a wealth tax on assets worth more than £10 million.
And joining us this morning is Dawn Neeson and James Rampton. Good morning, you two.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In the next hour, let's talk about that iFront page, because I think that's an astounding number, so we should talk about that in the next hour, actually. But we do have other
earmark
stories.
that.
We'll earmark it. But Dawn, police are warning early release is going to force patrol cuts. Is that any surprise at all?
No, not at all, is it really? It's like... It was a Tory scheme originally, right? Start at the very beginning. The Conservatives came up with this because we have so much overcrowding in prisons, we're going to let a lot of people out early, but they won't be any really danger. They're a bit of shoplifting, a bit of burglary, no sex offenders or violent criminals. Fast forward a few months on, and the Labour government are now in, and it was like, well, basically anyone's going to be allowed. Andy Burnham then comes in, our new Prime Minister, checks watch, yet still. Is now saying, no, we're not letting any sex offenders, rapists or very violent criminals out, which is begging the question, hold on a minute, the prisons are overcrowded, but you can keep them in. Makes sense, that one. But this is the police saying, you're releasing all these criminals onto our streets, as you just said just now, Alex. I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer that the police are then going to be diverted to managing all the criminals that are released to roam our streets, rather than protecting the general public from new criminals doing things wrong. It's obviously it's a no-brainer on this one. And all this, like, oh, they'll be tagged, they'll be monitored, and it's like the probation service is on its absolute knees. There is no way they'll be able to cope with it either. So it's going to be chaos, basically.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is that police budgets are fixed. So you can't say, well, we've got masses more work here, can we have a bit more money? The answer is no, but they're estimating that it will cost millions more pounds to police forces up and down the country to police this because of all the extra vigilance that it will take. One idea which Alex Norris, the Justice Secretary, has come up with is to give these criminals harsher community service orders, and I think this is a good idea. Cleaning up fly tipping, for instance, which is such a menace in our society, wiping out graffiti, dealing with the effects of vandalism, all those are really good ideas, but the bottom line is, where's the money going to come from?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is, and probably $20 million question.
Yeah.
But don't you think, James, with that little sweetener, as I think it is, it's like we're going to have some sort of chain gang where they're going to go and clear up the sides of the motorway. I mean, it's almost like, well, actually, we're going to release them, but we're doing something very useful. And as I say, where's the money coming from? And I'll believe it when I see it. I think it's a bit like, oh, we are doing something positive with it as well.
James,
yes.
160,000 firms have shut down after tax hikes.
This is really a shocking story. The upshot, The Sun is saying, of Rachel Reeves' very punitive budget on business, they're calling it a £25 billion tax grab, has meant that 160,000 businesses have closed in 6 months. The raise in national insurance, the extra red tape, has created so much pressure on businesses that they are folding left, right and centre. There are now fewer new businesses opening than there were even during the COVID crisis. So it's an absolute catastrophe for small businesses, and probably top of Burnham's in tray will be how do we power growth? How do we get the economy back on an even keel and even driving forward so that businesses can feel confident that they will have a future and that the whole country will feel better about itself? Because what it's creating is a lot of misery.
Yeah, Dawn, these are stark numbers, depressing numbers.
They really are. I mean, 160,415 businesses closed in 6 months. The national insurance hike, the national insurance they weren't going to touch. But when we said not touching it, we meant that bit of it we weren't going to touch. We're touching the rest of it. So, I mean, it is making a real problem for small businesses to survive. And now we're also talking about a wealth tax. And, James, you're talking about growth and investment in the economy. And if whatever version of wealth tax, devil's always in the details, and we're not going to find out until the autumn comes in, how is that going to encourage people to invest in the country, to start businesses, if they know they're going to get taxed ridiculously for even trying to achieve anything?
Absolutely, and unfortunately we're going to see a flight. People will go to Dubai or they'll go elsewhere, low-tax havens, in order to create businesses because they'll feel I'm going to be punished, I'm going to be taxed up to my eyeballs if I remain in this country.
with the wealth tax, even the French got rid of that. So, France is only just across the channel. It's like, if you're going to invest, well, you'd invest in France rather than the UK. If you're starting your business, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it certainly does. And Dawn, while we're with you, there's reports suggesting now that the NHS is struggling as much in the summer as it is in the winter. We keep hearing a winter crisis, but we're going to have summer crisis.
Summer crisis. You know what? I've worked on newspapers for 40 years, and every summer and every winter, it's always NHS in crisis.
Yeah.
And including autumn and spring in that as well. The NHS is always having a crisis. You can never write a headline that involves the words NHS without the word crisis in there as well. Deadly heatwave. It's true, James. It is
Absolutely.
True. Deadly heatwaves put in
NHS doing well does not sell.
NHS working perfectly. Well, health officials believe that, obviously, people are dying. It is, the heatwave has, for people that are elderly and vulnerable. Health officials believe that nearly 3,000 patients have died this summer as a result of complications such as heart attacks and strokes linked to the extreme weather. And one of the problems we have in this country is that our NHS buildings, many of our hospitals, are not built for this climate. So if you are in hospital, many of the machines can't cope for a start. Many of the walls are in Victorian buildings where there's no air conditioning, and many of them you can't even open windows. There is a problem. Many scans, blood tests and surgeries are being cancelled and delayed, so it's adding more pressure onto the waiting list. 34.9 million GP appointments in June cancelled. It's just like...
And an unforeseen consequence perhaps is the ancientness of a lot of the equipment. I was reading in Norfolk that hundreds of MRI scans have been cancelled because the machines have broken down due to extreme heat. They can't be maintained in these appallingly high temperatures. So there are many knock-on effects of these new heat waves, which we've yet to reckon with.
Can I just correct myself there? When I said 34.9 million GP appointments cancelled, it wasn't. They were up to that moment.
From 31. The previous June.
The pressure on GP surgeries with people not coping with the heat.
Well, James, you could say we need to build more hospitals or newer hospitals. How do we do that? There's a plan in the Express.
Can we build it? Yes, we can. Well, Bot the Builder can. Anyway, this is a really good Express story. The answer to our national housing crisis is a bricklaying robot who's been given the name of Walter. There's lots of negative stories about AI and taking people's jobs and, making swathes of young people unemployed. But if it's going to help to ease the housing crisis, which we're very much suffering from in this country, to use a robot that can do it very, very quickly, then that's got to be a good thing.
I don't know about this. That makes me nervous, because we always say that trades are safe from AI.
No, they're not.
Now this is...
Possibly you're right,
Some of these robots are exceptionally good, and I think we say this quite a lot. AI will take the office jobs first, and then when you put that AI into robotics, it will take all the other jobs, the plumbing jobs, the bricklaying jobs. There'll always be humans to supervise them. But imagine a robot that can work 24 hours a day, no breaks, no health and safety laws, can just build. We could build all day, all night, and we could do it at a tenth of the cost. And I think that is where businesses will be going, how am I going to make my money?
Yeah, well, we'll all have more leisure time, but we'll have no money to actually enjoy it.
Nobody will be employed.
We'll be entertained by watching the bots work, I suppose.
We could all be bots in a couple of years' time.
Never.
What makes you think we're not?
Yes, exactly.
Have you seen me? Yeah, I'm definitely AI.
All right, you two. Thank you very, very much. We'll see you in an hour or so, or maybe even the AI versions of you.
John's been in touch saying hospitals are too hot all year round. They're just not designed for these temperatures. We see that with our infrastructure up and down the country, don't we? In a heat wave, we're just not designed for this heat in our houses, on our public transport.
I remember when I was young and I was in hospital and there was a heat wave and I just thought, this is awful. But then opened the window, just made it worse. Air conditioning in hospitals, come on.
I know. But anyway, on to happier things. The Great British Giveaway now. Your time is ticking on your chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash, plus a real gold bar worth over £5,000.
Wow. Well, Hayley Sparks has got all the details for you.
One person is guaranteed to win over £65,000 worth of gold and cash. And that person could be you.
You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner and join our exclusive list of giveaway champions.
First of all, we want to give you a ton of tax-free cash.
£60,000 in tax-free cash that you could use however you like. Treat your family, treat your friends,
or treat yourself to a luxury 5-star holiday somewhere like here, all as Santi by Domes Resorts.
Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck.
Well, still to come, could reforms planned to deploy the Royal Navy actually work? We'll talk about that very shortly with them.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, the heat and humidity is set to build quite quickly as we move into Monday. A very hot day is on the cards across the southeast, but there will be some rain or showers courtesy of this area of low pressure for some, mainly in the north and the west, but we might just see one or two heavy showers sparked by this heat and humidity that's drifting in from continental Europe. That process is already underway this evening, so whilst it's a fine end to the day for many, we do see thicker cloud out towards the west, and you'll notice we could see some spots of light rain across parts of Northern Ireland, and the rain blossoming somewhat as we go through the early hours of Monday morning across central and southern Scotland. Here it won't be a particularly warm night, but across England and Wales it will turn increasingly humid, with lows perhaps not falling much below 17 or 18 degrees Celsius in some of our larger urban areas in the south. Now, after that warm and humid night, it will quickly turn pretty hot as we go into Monday. The strong August sunshine really quickly lifting those temperatures. A damp start across parts of Northern Ireland, but the most persistent rain probably at this point across more central parts of Scotland. So a pretty wet commute to work across the central belt of Scotland, for example. Still a bit of brightness perhaps across the very far north of Scotland, but an increasing chance of showers or longer spells of rain here as we go through the day. So the rain becomes a bit more confined to northern Scotland, but there will be showers breaking out across Northern Ireland and southern Scotland too, and possibly one or two isolated ones across England and Wales, but these vary hit and miss, most places staying dry, and it will be a sunny and hot day, particularly in the east of England, temperatures perhaps approaching the mid-30s for some, so oppressively hot and humid, not comfortable at all. A few scattered showers or thunderstorms overnight and into Tuesday, possibly even in the southeast of England, but for most, Tuesday will be a cloudier and slightly cooler day, a greater chance of catching a shower, and some longer spells of rain across the north of Scotland where it will be quite windy. Through Wednesday, again a changeable day with sunny spells and scattered showers, temperatures trending downwards as we go through the week, returning to average.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. There is a collision on the M25 clockwise between junctions 9 and 10 in Leatherhead. The M1 southbound is slow following a collision between junctions 21A and 21 in Leicester. The A428 is closed after the A1 near St Neots. The M6 southbound between junctions 6 and 5 in Birmingham East has a stranded vehicle causing slow traffic. Across Wales, the A470 southbound from Nantgarv to Corriton is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, cross-country and Great Western Railway services have reduced service between Newport and Cardiff Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, "We saw you on television." I say, "Oh yes, on what?" "On GB News."
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew hit me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here, right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again.
You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good morning. Reform UK says it will launch what it calls the largest military operation in the English Channel since the Second World War in order to stop the small boats.
Nigel Farage says a Reform government would deploy the Royal Navy to intercept migrant boats and return them to France or Belgium under plans dubbed Operation Fortress.
Well, the proposal comes as more than 2,000 people have crossed the Channel since Andy Burnham became Prime Minister, with the government insisting its own approach is beginning to reduce crossings compared with this time last year.
We're just going to be relentless. People want to see this issue addressed.
And could Britain be heading for a recession if the war in the Middle East drags on? That's according to a stark new economic warning.
Should Britain's black pudding throwing championships, yes, you heard that right, go vegan? Well, Peter certainly thinks so. Andrew Pearce is not a fan. We're going to be speaking to Peter in about 20 minutes' time.
And one of Britain's biggest sporting traditions is underway as thousands of sailors descend on the Isle of Wight for Cows Week.
Well, it's the largest sailing regatta in the world and the oldest sporting event of its kind. This year celebrating its 200th anniversary. Cows Week got off to a great start on the weekend and we'll be here to soak in the great British tradition all day long.
Well, he's clinging on for now, but for how much longer can Gianni Infantino survive? As the FIFA president, we're joined by Chris Scudder, lays this out.
Heard there's another heat wave on the way? Find out just how high temperatures are going to get where you live in your full forecast coming up.
Good morning. It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Now, Reform UK has committed to using the Royal Navy to seal off the Channel to small boat migrants, pledging the biggest military operation in the English Channel since the Second World War.
Well, Operation Fortress would intercept all migrant boats and return them to France or Belgium. It comes after more than 60,000 migrants from Morocco descended on the tiny Spanish enclave of Ceuta in just a matter of hours.
Well, this comes after the Prime Minister has vowed to be relentless in tackling the number of migrants crossing the English Channel on small boats, as more than 2,000 of them have made the journey since Andy Burnham entered number 10.
Well, the Prime Minister says there's still a lot more to do.
We're just going to be relentless. People want to see this issue addressed. I heard that on the doorsteps in Makerfield. But we also need to build a system that offers safe routes for people as well, because that also takes away the selling point of the gangs. So on every level, we've got to come at this, but crucially, increasing the enforcement activity. So there's been a doubling of enforcement officers through the National Crime Agency.
Well, let's get some reaction, shall we, from the Conservatives. And Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp joins us now. Very good morning to you, Mr Philp. What's your reaction to Operation Fortress? Would you welcome this move, putting the Royal Navy in the Channel?
Good morning. Well, look, I've got no problem in principle with direct action on boats, but as usual with a reform announcement, it's half-baked and written on the back of a fag packet. They can't answer basic questions like what would they do if the French won't allow the illegal immigrants to be disembarked. They also have no plan to properly fund our military, whereas the Conservatives do. So look, the plan that we have, the proper, credible plan that is capable of working, that the Conservatives published last year, is our borders plan. That involves leaving the ECHR, which will enable us to deport all illegal immigrants within a week of arrival. No human rights claim, no asylum claim, no modern slavery claim, no hotel, no legal aid, and no court process, just immediate deportation back to their country of origin if that's possible, or a safe third country like Rwanda if not. And that gets around the problem of the French refusing to take them back, which is the issue with this morning's announcement. So our plan is credible, properly thought out and detailed, and it would work as a deterrent, because the illegal immigrants in France, circulating in France, would not bother crossing to the UK if they knew they would immediately get kicked out and deported. A similar approach worked in Australia about 13 years ago. A similar approach worked in America with their crossings over the Mexican border last year, in the spring of last year, and it would work here as well. So we've got a proper, credible plan to fix this. And I saw myself last week on the beaches in France. I was out there.
Yes. Let me just ask you this, because I would like to talk to you about what's going on in on those beaches. Obviously, thanks for joining us last week. Incredible footage that we saw with you live there on the beaches. Let me just ask you about what would happen when you're trying to deport people where you have no returns agreement. This is one of the issues that the current Home Secretary is facing, where places like Pakistan are refusing to take back heinous criminals. Shabir Ahmed immediately comes to mind, one of the grooming gang ringleaders. How on earth would you do a better job of that? What would your plan be to solve that problem?
Yeah, well, I think countries must take back their own nationals who are illegal immigrants or indeed foreign criminals like Shabir Ahmed. Germany, by the way, last week managed to return 31 men to Afghanistan. So you can even do it with men returning men to Afghanistan. So if a country refuses, like Pakistan, you've got to take very tough action. The first thing is completely cancel all foreign aid to those countries. I think Pakistan receives over £100 million a year. End that straight away. And then secondly, you use what are called visa sanctions, which means that for people living in countries like Pakistan or other countries who want to come to the UK for study or for work or whatever it may be, we simply say we are not going to issue visas for nationals, citizens of that country to come to the UK unless they take back their own citizens. And that very quickly gets their attention and makes them cooperate. Because why should we let people into the UK legally from a country who won't take back their own citizens? We take back ours. If you or me were illegally in another country, or heaven forbid committed a crime there, the UK would take us back. We expect other countries, including Pakistan and Afghanistan, to do the same. And if they don't, those are the sanctions that will follow to make sure they do take back their own citizens.
What is your reaction to a potential Reform UK, Restore Britain pact, this deal to unite the right? That would be an extinction-level event for the Tories, wouldn't it?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, Rupert Lowe and Nigel Farage had a massive falling out because Mr. Farage has quite a fragile ego and didn't like the fact that Rupert Lowe was getting attention a year or two ago. So I think they're fighting like rats in a sack. There's only one credible party on the right that actually has policies that will work, that thinks things through in detail, and that's the Conservative Party. I mentioned a minute ago our plan to deport all illegal immigrants within a week of arrival. A similar approach would apply to foreign criminals as well. We're the only party with credible policies that have been properly thought out. It's very easy for Reform to come up with these slogans, but they're not properly thought out, like this announcement today. It's just done in a panic on the back of a fag packet. It hasn't been properly thought out. When it comes to the economy, cutting welfare and cutting taxes, we Conservatives have a properly thought out plan to cut welfare and cut taxes and ease the cost of living crisis. We've done the proper thinking. Mel Stride and Helen Whately and our leader Kemi Badenoch have done the proper thinking on that. We're the only party on the right to have done the proper thinking and have a credible plan. So actually I'm relatively confident as I look ahead. You can see us going up in the polls, you can see Reform going down a bit in the polls. So actually as I look at the future in the next year or two, I'm feeling reasonably good about that actually.
Let me just ask you about this. The Free Speech Union put a big spotlight on this, and I actually indeed had this activist on my show just last night. Annika Svenska, she was visited at home by 2 police officers regarding a social media post online. Those police officers said and told her to accept a police record, attend an online course, an online thinking course, believe it or not. And this was, I'm quoting the Free Speech Union here, the police alleged that she committed a crime under the Online Safety Act, Section 179. The Online Safety Act was brought in by the Conservative Party. Many people wonder how on earth things like this are getting into a bill that's meant to protect kids online. What do you make of what the Free Speech Union, Annika Svenska here, who has had the case dropped, by the way, by the police after she provided evidence, but what do you make of this sort of stuff?
Yeah. What did she actually say, by the way, roughly? I haven't seen the case.
It was to do with an animal rights case that she was putting forward. I don't want to get into the detail of what the business, who the business was, but it was to do with animals being tested on, basically, Mr. Philp.
OK, well, look, I think expressing an opinion on political issues, even contentious political issues, is completely reasonable. As far as I'm aware, nothing in the Online Safety Act would criminalise that. I think the Online Safety Act prohibits content that is harmful to children and content that is actually illegal in the real world, like selling firearms and all that kind of stuff. So there's nothing in the Online Safety Act that would criminalise free speech.
What the Free Speech Union are saying, Mr. Philp, is that under the Online Safety Act, Section 179 here, it's punishable up to 50 weeks in prison to knowingly spread false information likely to cause harm while the bill's going through. Now, obviously, Annika vehemently denies that. When the police looked into it, it was dropped. But the point is here that this, again, is a sort of another example of what people would call free speech policing.
Yeah, and that shouldn't happen. The police should not be wasting their time chasing up mean or controversial tweets or posts on Facebook or whatever. That is a total waste of police time, and it's also an infringement of free speech. I want the police to stop wasting their time on that kind of thing and catch real criminals, which is part of the announcement that we Conservatives are making today to mandate the police to always investigate crime. For example, following up, if someone steals your iPhone and there's a geolocation signal from the Find My iPhone, the police should always be going and finding out where the iPhone is located. If there's a picture of a suspect from CCTV, a mobile phone, a Ring doorbell, a dash cam, the police should always run that through the facial recognition database to catch the criminal. If someone's bike gets advertised on eBay, stolen bike gets advertised on eBay, the police should follow that up. Crime must have consequences. The police must catch criminals. The criminal should be the one in fear, not the public. And they should spend their time, the police should spend their time on those kind of activities, catching criminals, and not going after people like the lady you mentioned, posting online, or Graham Linehan, the comedian, or Alison Pearson, or these other people who have expressed views online. The police should leave that alone, respect free speech, and spend their time catching the real criminals. And if I were Home Secretary, I would mandate the police police to catch real criminals by doing the things I just mentioned. And I would also completely abolish these non-crime hate incidents, which by definition are not criminal. And I'd mandate the police to stop wasting time policing mean or controversial tweets. We believe in free speech in this country. The police should catch criminals, not catch up on tweets and Facebook posts.
OK, Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp, thank you for being so generous with your time this morning on GB News Breakfast.
Thank you.
Right, GB News presenter Andrew Pearce joins us in the studio. Hello. A lot to dig into there, wasn't there? A lot to dig into. I think it was important we raised that free speech issue there, because this is what this channel's all about, of course. But of course, let's start with Chris Philp's response there to Reform UK's landmark policy they've announced.
Yeah, they've sort of said this before Reform, haven't they? Let's be honest, that they're going to turn the boats around. It sounds terrific, the biggest military operation in the Channel since the Second World War. Where are the ships coming from? We don't have very many of those, that's the first thing. And also, are the Royal Navy on board with this? I'm not sure. They're going to wheel out some former Royal Navy experts this morning at their press conference today. It sounds great, but the big problem is, if France say we're not taking them back, how can they force them? That is the real problem. That is the elephant in the room, and I don't quite see how they're going to resolve that problem, because the French are showing absolutely no interest whatsoever in taking them. In fact, they want to get rid of them.
This is it, isn't it?
It's a problem.
What do you make of what Chris Philp had to say there about this potential pact between Reform UK and Restore Britain? Nothing to see here, said Chris Philp. Nothing to worry about.
Clever politics by Rupert Lowe, isn't it, of Restore? Because today we've got the big Reform press conference about migrants, and today Zia Yusuf is going to be asked about the Restore offer. There has to be a pact on the right, otherwise we could get another Labour government, which would be the worst thing possible, even a Labour, Green, Lib Dem coalition. But whether Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe can bury the hatchet, because if they could bury the hatchet, it would be in one of the other's heads, because they really can't bear each other. It's very personal.
It's the more important pact between the Conservative Party and Reform UK, because we're talking about Restore Britain, which is nationally polling about 5%. That's not going to win them a general election.
And the Tories, Kemi Badenoch keeps saying she won't do a deal. Nigel Farage says they won't do a deal. I think as we get closer to a general election, there will be there has to be some form of unofficial pact, because otherwise we're just going to get Labour MPs winning in seats where you've got a good, strong Reform candidate or a good, strong Tory candidate. Who wants that?
But then we saw in Manchester that people won't vote tactically on the right anyway.
I suspect at a general election it's different. I think it will be different, because we'll have had 5 years of Labour by then. People will be sick to death of them and want to get rid of them. What I also thought was interesting was Chris Philp saying, good luck with the police. You know, if somebody's phone's in it, they're going to go after the phone. Where are the police officers coming from? The Tories axed 20,000 of them. 20,000 on Theresa May's watch. It was a disastrous policy. I know they say they brought a lot of them back, but they're not as experienced. And phone theft, it's like an epidemic in our major cities now. It's just wishful thinking, really. I like the idea that they want the police not to be chasing after online crime and chasing real crime, but it's going to be very difficult.
On top of that, you've got these early prisoners being released as well, and there's not enough prisons. So it's a catastrophe. It's great to say that police will do more.
Yeah, exactly.
But where they're all coming from.
Their hands are tied behind their backs, I'm afraid, by our politicians.
OK, Andrew, thank you. Really good to see you back.
Yeah, very nice to be back.
Hope you enjoyed your holiday.
I did. And we will, of course, have the Reform press conference during our programme this morning.
Yes, all coming up from 9:30. Thanks, Andrew.
All right, GB News is sailing into Cows Week.
Yes, as the yachties descend on the Isle of Wight.
Yachties, is that a thing?
It's a thing, apparently.
All right. Okay.
That's where they are.
Yachties.
Yeah.
It's the largest, longest running and most prestigious international sailing regatta in the world.
However, this week is particularly special as it's the 200th event.
Well, GB News reporter Isabel Fakulak joins us now from the Isle of Wight. Isabel, tell us more about the atmosphere there. Lovely weather for it, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Good morning to you both, and a beautiful morning already here on the Isle of Wight for the 200th annual Cows Week. As you say there, the largest sailing regatta in the world and one of the oldest sporting events of its kind, dating back to 1826. This year, of course, they're celebrating that British history. Over 640 boats, around 5,000 sailors descending on the Solent here for a week of racing. It got got off to a great start this weekend with Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal firing the starting gun yesterday, and a great weekend of racing, perfect conditions with this beautiful weather, and of course the team here working harder than ever this year to pull off this festive event that happens every year here on the Isle of Wight. I'm joined now by Lawrence Mead, the former director of the regatta. Lawrence, obviously a great weekend to kick it off. Today, what are we expecting?
A little bit less wind than we had yesterday, but we've had such a fantastic start to the regatta. It's been amazing. The weather's been fantastic. The long English summer continues, and we've had great wind, and there's just a great atmosphere around the town. It's such a great regatta week. It's such a wonderful occasion. You see lots of people that you haven't seen for perhaps since last year's regatta. Families, friends. It's a good social scene. So it's just a wonderful festival of sailing on the Isle of Wight.
And of course this year is very special, the 200th anniversary. What are you doing to mark that moment?
Well, the 6 years that I ran the regatta, we didn't have a title sponsor, so we were very limited on what we could achieve. But this year North Sails have come in as the title sponsor, so fireworks are back. And everybody in the town loves the fireworks on the Friday night. So I think for a lot of the non-sailors, it'll be the fireworks that are the highlight. But for the rest of the sailors, I think the professionalism of the race management system here now is very good. So you get very high quality racing. We only do one race a day, so you go out, you do 3 or 4 hours, you come back, and then you get to have a few beers with your friends.
And you've been out on that water, you've been racing for 30, 40 years, you say. What's the feeling like on the Solent?
Oh, do you know, it's the mix of all the different sizes of boats that's so fantastic. We race most weekends, but you're racing amongst a very similar type of boat, whereas at Cows Week yesterday we were going past boats which were much smaller, going half the speed, then another boat that was twice the speed came through. It's almost the mini chaos of the occasion that really adds to Cows Week.
And there's so much history. Could we just very quickly point out, just behind us is the late Duke of Edinburgh's sailboat, isn't it?
It is. That is the dragon called Blue Bottle. You can see it there, the varnish one in the middle of the picture, I think. Blue Bottle was built in the 1940s as a present to the Duke of Edinburgh.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Some great history here. The first race today kicking off later this morning. We'll be here to soak in the atmosphere on the Isle of Wight with everyone who's here to enjoy Cows Week this year.
OK, Isabel Feculak, wonderful stuff there for us in the Isle of Wight. Thank you very much.
Beautiful stuff. All right, let's get a check on the weather with Tom.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's going to be a hot and muggy day for some parts of England and Wales, and a quite humid picture elsewhere too, with the potential for some rain or showers, mainly in the north of the UK today, and more particularly Scotland. So a pretty damp start to the day for the central belt, and the rain will gradually push its way ever so slightly further north as we go through into this afternoon. Showers will form across Northern Ireland and southern Scotland too, and there may well be just 1 or 2 very isolated hit and miss showers across England and Wales. But here is mostly about the heat and humidity. A really hot day across the southeast of England in particular, the mid-30s Celsius possible, and quite likely the low 30s more widely across England and the east of Wales. The potential is there also for 1 or 2 late afternoon and evening showers, possibly thunderstorms, so don't take the graphics too literally. We could see 1 or 2 showers further south and east than these graphics suggest, but generally speaking it'll be the further north and west you come where the greater the chance of seeing some rain this evening, more especially across Scotland, but the rain will tend to become more showery away from the north as we go towards the second half of the day. A pretty humid picture, though, through this evening, wherever you are, an increasing chance of some longer spells of rain developing, some heavy outbreaks perhaps for parts of North Wales, but generally the chance of rain or showers in many northern and western parts of the UK overnight tonight. Further south and east staying largely dry, but again, the chance of 1 or 2 heavy showers or thunderstorms. An uncomfortably warm night for sleeping, quite humid, temperatures perhaps staying in the high teens Celsius in some southern areas. Now for Tuesday, it's going to be a slightly less hot and humid day for most, and certainly a pretty wet day across parts of northern Scotland. An increasingly breezy picture here, the winds funneling down through the Irish Sea as well later in the day. The chance of some scattered showers breaking out pretty much anywhere across the UK, but that chance is lowest towards the south and the east. And here we'll hold on to some heat. Temperatures might well approach 30 degrees Celsius in the east of England, but cooler for most.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
All right, still to come, animal rights group PETA. Have you heard of them? I haven't heard of them.
I have, yeah. I haven't heard from them in a while, though. Yeah, that's a great point.
Again.
Yeah, well, they're back.
They're back, and they've demanded that organisers of a black pudding throwing event use a vegan alternative. That's next.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Costello. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And tune in as your favourite presenters are live across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Tune in this Thursday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 25 minutes past 8. Now, PETA, the animal rights charity, have demanded that the World Black Pudding Championships, yes, that is a real thing, use vegan alternatives for their annual throwing competition.
It's just ridiculous, but the event held in a town of Ramsbottom in Greater Manchester requires athletes to throw blood sausages to try and knock Yorkshire puddings off a 20-foot plinth. Only in England, really.
Only in Britain.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true. However, in a letter sent to the event's organisers, the animal rights group has said it's morally wrong for pigs to have their blood and fat thrown at a target for a bit of fun.
Joining us now is Ruben Skeet, I can't pronounce that, vivisection campaign leader at Peter. Sorry, we'll get my pronunciation correct, Ruben. Ruben, come on. You've got to convince our audience who will just think this is totally bonkers what you're suggesting, right? I'll just put this out there to you very bluntly. They'll think this is bonkers. Convince our audience that actually what you're suggesting is the right thing to do.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Good morning. So switching to vegan black puddings really is a no-brainer. Vegan food is more inclusive because it allows vegans to take part as well as religious minorities, but also it's better for pigs too. So these sensitive animals will endure a miserable life and a terrifying death in a gas chamber, which is a pretty grim end for an intelligent animal whose blood and fat will be thrown at a target for a bit of fun. No one needs to die for this contest, and that is why we've called on the event organisers to opt for a kinder option, and we're even offering to help cover the costs as well.
Is black pudding to a vegan, is it a better option than just a sausage, if you like, because it is a waste product, it is fat and blood that would just go to waste?
Well, look, pigs are remarkably intelligent and curious animals. They dream, they recognise their names, they're smarter than dogs, and yet dogs are loved as companions. And pigs are seen as nothing more than food. So if this was dog's blood and dog's fat being thrown at the targets, I think people would be having a very different conversation about it, right? Most pigs in the UK will suffocate to death before being stabbed in the throat and boiled. This is really quite simple. Pigs and all other animals deserve to be treated, as I'm sure most of your viewers will agree, with respect, compassion and protection.
Well, our viewers do love animals. I will say that they are big animal lovers, but they also love British heritage, they love traditions, and they don't like to see those things meddled with in many ways, particularly because people feel like, you know, the history of the country is under attack, and many people believe that in the country. So is there not a case to just say, look, this is a one-off event, it happens very, very regularly, once a year. Surely it's not that much of a big deal. Surely you guys have got bigger issues to be worrying about. You know, I was speaking to an animal rights campaigner last night, and she was on my show. She was telling me some dreadful things that happen here in Britain that really should be drawing have attention drawn to them.
Yeah, I totally recognise that. And look, we're not trying to cancel any events. I take part and enjoy loads of traditions as well. We're simply trying to inspire a positive change for animals. Whether it's this black pudding competition or any other event that involves the exploitation of animals. Our message is the same, that traditions shouldn't come at the expense of animals. And they can also look to another event which it takes place in Lancashire, which, believe it or not, is called the World Gravy Wrestling Championship, which has led the way by opting for vegan gravy, so anyone can take part, right? So we can still enjoy these same traditions that we've been enjoying, but just, you know, minorly adapt them with the times. I don't think anyone's going to enjoy throwing a black pudding any less because it's vegan. It's made of oats, barley, beans and spices.
We did actually cover the gravy wrestling competition. It was absolutely hilarious.
Of course we did.
So we did.
So British, aren't they?
It was brilliant, yeah.
Ruben, where is the line drawn, though? Would you feel the same way about the cheese rolling championships, which we've also covered here on GB News, and egg and spoon race, and knitting championship? Would you feel the same way about all of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. If there's a way to do these events, which there is, without supporting or partaking in the exploitation of animals, then we absolutely should. Confining, slaughtering and butchering pigs or any other animal is cruel and unnecessary. They do deserve to live their lives free from human harm and exploitation. And so we can all help them by, you know, slightly adapting these traditions to be more in line with those values.
Ruben, let me ask you, because our audience, we've got a feed called You All Say Here. They put questions to us, and they want to ask you about this. They say, if you're worried about the cruel slaughtering of animals, are you not worried about how animals might be religiously slaughtered for halal or for other religious minorities in the country as well? Are you not making a campaign about that?
Yeah, so we take issue with all slaughter of animals. They don't exist for us. They're not just you know, commodities that we should just be allowed to use however we like. But so, for example, in the instance of pigs, They'll be loaded into a gas chamber where they'll suffocate to death. They'll then be stabbed in the throat and boiled. Obviously, that's not taking place for religious slaughter, right? No animal goes into a slaughterhouse wanting to die or accepting it. And so, yeah, we take issue with all slaughter of animals and exploitation.
OK, Ruben Skeets, thank you very much for joining us this morning on GB News Breakfast, and sorry for the very graphic descriptions there at breakfast time.
Yeah, but there will be people who will hear that and go, oh, there you go. That's something I didn't know before. So thanks for that, Ruben. Do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. We should just say that Paul Jenkins, one of the organisers of the championship, has made a statement saying that they already offer athletes the option to throw vegan alternatives. There you go.
All right. Just travelling to work because there is no school. Although I do hear...
There is no school.
There was a story, we'll talk about this in papers, that actually parents are fed up.
Some parents have had enough, haven't they? They're wishing for September already. They've had enough of these summer holidays.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're well and truly here. No school. But if you are heading to work this morning, here's your traffic and travel update.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. There is a collision on the M25 clockwise at junction 14 near Heathrow, causing slow traffic. The M27 westbound between junctions 10 and 9 in Whiteley has a lane closure. The A11 is closed after the A134 near Thetford. North of the border, the A78 is closed both directions between Dunlop Street and Ratho Street due to planned roadworks. Across Wales, the A470 southbound from Nantgarv to Corriton is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, cross-country and Great Western Railway services have reduced service between Newport and Cardiff Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
All right, still to come. Aidan's got all the sport. Aidan, what you got for us?
Yes, indeed. He's clinging on for now. But for how much longer can Gianni Infantino survive as the FIFA president? We're joined by Chris Scudder in just a few minutes.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And tune in as your favourite presenters are live across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Tune in this Thursday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
To all of you who voted for GB News to win at the Trick Awards for the 4th year in a row.
The winner is GB News.
Thank you so much for voting for us. It's because of you that we're so proud to be the People's Channel, and it's because of you that we are Britain's news channel.
It's voted for the people who watch us.
Well, we've got the best viewers in the world, haven't we? The most loyal viewers.
Thank you.
Welcome back. It's sports time. Aidan's here with us. Morning.
Good morning. Yeah, look, we're going to start on Gianni Infantino. We're normally used to transfer sagas, aren't we, over the summer? This is a big saga over whether this man can survive. Embattled goes with the job description when you're the FIFA president. He seems to be just hanging on for now. And as Chris Scudder, who we're about to speak to, said last week, it might be more difficult to remove him than we first thought. Chris, we're going to speak to you right now. Can we see Chris there? Yes, he is. Chris, as I said, the longer he plays for time, the more likely he is to stay right where he is.
Yeah, he's got. I mean, the next re-election will be next March. If he can survive as long as that, without a major opponent, then I think his quids in are going to make it through till the end of his term, which will be 2031. But the big development today is that Wales, the Wales FA, are the first of the Europeans. First of all, I mean, there's a concerted effort from UEFA, from Europe, the power base of world football, really. 55 votes of the 211 in the world. They want him out. Simple as that. They've had enough. And as a quote this morning, a statement from the Wales FA, we have lost confidence in Gianni Infantino. Failing to put the best interest of football first is a failure we cannot accept. So what happens is that when the election comes round, all the individual member associations send letters of support or opposition, as the case may be. Wales have withdrawn theirs. You can be sure now that there'll be a whole flood from Europe in the same vein as that. But that's not enough. You know, it's all very well Europe saying we don't want Infantino to continue, but they've got to get the rest of the world in line. And it's looking at the moment as though UEFA and Central America and North America as well will be up against possibly Africa and Asia, which is a considerable power base as well. In do we support this guy or not? And there's a whisper this morning that Asia, who were thinking yesterday or over the last few days when we had the collapse of the sell-off, they were against that. But when it comes to removing the man himself, they're not quite so sure. So that's the big issue here, really, and it's looking pretty split at the moment. Wales coming forward and saying, go now. But, you know, it could be a drawn-out thing. I'm pretty sure he's not going to resign. He's the wily old fox who's going to dig in. Not like Blatter. Blatter resigned, remember, all those years ago. But Infantino, not at all. He's a wily old lawyer. He will dig in hard, and he'll be looking at his power bases, Africa, Asia, Oceania as well. Some of the smaller nations to back him and see him through to the end of his term.
So can we take it from that, Chris, that he won't be overly bothered, the Welsh FA have withdrawn support?
No, I think he knows pretty much that traditionally in football, the European power base has never really liked FIFA because of the football calendar. You know, you've got the European Championships and the Champions League on one hand, and then you've got FIFA with its competitions, the Club World Cup, which nobody wanted in Europe really. We had it last year, and if it had been sold off, that would have been probably made bigger and bigger. More World Cups every 2 years possibly, and the European clubs, the big giants, that don't want that. So, and the players are going to be absolutely knackered. Let's be honest. So, there's merit in that argument. But this is a power struggle. Make no mistake about that. Infantino knows that the rest of the world think that Europe has too much power in world football. It's just one vote for all the big nations, England, Spain, France, and yet, the small,
St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Bhutan and Vanuatu get one vote as well. And Infantino knows he can give them money, which they're desperate for. UEFA doesn't need it quite so much. But he can say to them, look, we'll give you the funds, vote for us, vote for me, and that could well keep him in power. But UEFA, with the voice they have and the media that comes with that, is very loud. But Infantino will know. He'll look at the numbers and he'll think, OK, I've got to persuade Asia and the African nations. There are 54 in Africa, 46 in Asia. That's 100. That's a lot. So what UEFA will want to do now is try to trigger an emergency Congress. They've got enough numbers to say we have no confidence in Infantino and trigger an emergency Congress. Then there would be a vote. So 211 nations, 106 would swing it either way. So, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it'll come to next March when he goes up for re-election, and somebody has got to stand against him. Who might that be at the moment? Difficult to say.
Thanks very much indeed, Chris. Good to see you. Keep across it.
Will do.
Chris Scudder there. What do you think is going to happen? We've heard that maybe Barack Obama might be interested.
Really?
That's the story behind it. He doesn't know anything about football.
I was going to say,
that's the problem.
That doesn't matter, does it?
Well, I guess you're just told what... I mean, actually, maybe someone being told what to do by multiple organisations might be better than having one bloke like Infantino.
Arsene Wenger's been very quiet, though.
Yeah. So Keir Starmer's looking for a new job?
Well, he's a stubborn lawyer.
He likes football.
That's a good point as well, actually. Maybe that's the right job for him.
Good to see you this morning.
Aidan, thank you. Now, do stay with us still to come. The Conservatives have told Andy Burnham to scrap Labour's workers' rights reforms or risk sending Britain back to the 1970s.
That's in the papers with James Rampton and Dawn. Oh, there we go. Let's get a bit violent this morning.
Who are now having a pillow fight on our sofas.
Very, very violent stuff there, but let's get a look at the weather first, shall we?
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
It's turning more humid over the next few days in the UK, but it's even hotter across the Mediterranean, and the dry and sunny weather is set to continue for most through the week ahead. There may well be a slight downturn in temperatures compared to recent weeks across parts of Portugal and Spain, but we'll still see highs in the low 30s. There may well be one or two isolated afternoon showers and thunderstorms across the Pyrenees, the Alps and down the spine of Italy, but many coastal resorts in Italy, the Balkans, Greece and Turkey will stay fine, sunny and very hot through much of the week ahead.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Charlie, as most of the viewers know, I would be involved in agriculture. This isn't quite agriculture. It's quite close to it, the cousins of. A lot of things that go on in agriculture are on display here. Thousands of people coming to this site, Ragley Hall, just about 45 minutes out of Birmingham.
We are the modern ruralists, and here today we have the craft yard. We've got 9 different crafts, all demonstrating what they're up to. Here we have the wheelwrights, and they're bonding a wheel here. So this is an ancient craft that's been going for about. Barney Murray's a bit of a legend, quite frankly. He's the national champion, master dry stone waller, comes from North Wales, and he's a bit of a Thor lookalike, so he's quite popular.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now, at 16 minutes past 8, the annual bike ride from Yorkshire to London is taking place today, aiming to honour the legacy of the Batley and Spen Labour MP Joe Cox, who was murdered by a far-right terrorist in June of 2016.
Well, the bike ride aims to champion a cause she was passionate about, as this year marks the 10th anniversary of her tragic death.
Kim, if we can just start with you, what is your sister's legacy?
Well, there's so much that we've got to be proud of that's been done in Joe's name.
name. It's just been 10 years since she was murdered, and what has kept us going as a family has been the way that so many amazing people, including people like this amazing man, have done things in Jo's name to show what our country is really about. And you've got all these amazing people today from all different backgrounds, all walks of life, celebrating the things that we have in common, not agreeing on everything.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
It's a difficult question. Honestly, I don't think I would at this rate, because I think the government tracks, when we say we're fighting for Britain, what are we actually fighting for? The concept of Britain, I don't think exists anymore. When I look at Britain, when I go outside, it doesn't seem to be very British. And I think the core demographic of the people who would normally fight, these white working class boys who, you know, have been fighting for Britain, who we expect just to sacrifice their life in a fight, you know, they've been demonised for decades and decades by the government, by our education system, by the media. Economically, they've been disadvantaged. So why would we expect them to risk their lives when we've demonised them for so long and took them for granted for so long? And this concept of Britain fighting for the British government, you know, the British government has betrayed us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back, everybody. Dawn Neeson and James Rampton are here to talk about the papers. Right, should we start with this? Well, I don't really know where to start with it. Royal Navy must fully embrace robot warships.
The story that's not actually in the papers.
Yes,
Yeah, let's start with that one.
It's so new, it's not in the papers.
This is a Telegraph Online. Actually, no, I think it is at page 19 of the paper today. Yes.
Right,
We
OK,
just
well,
hadn't spotted it yet. But we have now. James, tell us more.
Yes, it's very interesting. Sir Nick Hine, former Second Sea Lord and now boss of the marine defence business Babcock, an absolute giant in the field, is suggesting that we should have a hybrid navy, including robotic warships. It's funny, Alex mentioned we were talking about robots taking all the jobs before even becoming bricklayers. Now they're going to become sailors. You know, they are going to be run, these ships, by robotic control. There will be some human oversight, but obviously there are huge savings to be made. But my worry would be when you're dealing with very, very high-tech military equipment. We've all seen the Terminator. What happens if it goes wrong? You know, you need humans really deeply involved in the process, or it could be hacked. You know, the enemy could hack it and make it blow up.
Good point.
So I think there are lots and lots of risks about that.
Can I put this to you guys? Because I have a friend who works in the cutting-edge drone technology, the AI drone technology on the front lines of Ukraine. And what he tells me is that those drones, Russians versus the Ukrainian ones, work on 10th of a second trying to beat each other. So this is the sort of stuff where humans just can't compete with artificial intelligence here. So actually, is this person right to say, right, if we don't have robot warships, we're just going to get blown up by someone's AI warship and we'll lose lives?
Well, we probably will. The slight problem with this story, and it's only a teeny-weeny problem, is we can't build old-school warships. The warships we have are all in dock because they're all knackered. So, I mean, yeah, this is all brilliant. It sounds wonderful going forward, doesn't it? That high-tech future. But we know that the Defence Investment Plan has sort of got a bit of a black hole in it. And where's the money coming from?
Yeah, very good question. Let alone for reforms planned to use Royal Navy ships to patrol the English Channel. You know, these ships are being magicked from some sort of fantasy world where there's untold money, the famous magic money tree of the past. But Sir Nick Hine's idea is definitely good, but it's not costed. And so we've saying this a lot. Where's the money going to come from?
Where's the money coming from?
Yeah.
Everything at the moment.
Let's have a look, Dawn, at the front page of the Daily Mail this morning. Andy Burnham must scrap disastrous pro-union strike laws.
Yeah, well, this is the Daily Mail we're talking about. This is the Employment Rights Act. It came into force last December, but many of the parts of it aren't due to be enacted until this October. And basically, I mean, it's quite a complicated story. There are lots of parts of it that are going to be an issue. But the main problem appears to be the fact that the unions will have much more control over what goes on in the workplace, including swipe-to-strike legislation, which I do find a bit worrying, online balloting for strike action. I mean, what can possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
We were just talking about...
The Tinder of balloting.
Yeah, exactly. It can be hacked, there can be intimidation in the workplace, etc., etc. There's lots of problems with that. Also is the time limit with which employees are able to make an employment tribunal claim. There's a huge backlog at the moment. It's 3 months at the moment. That's going to go to 6 months, so even more clogging up of that. And the right to roam legislation, which I think is another problem for companies. Even if you just employ, say, 21 people, unions will have a right to come in without a buy nor leave and talk to the people working there, encourage them to sign up. Again, the pressure, if you don't want to join a union, if it's only 21 employees, can be huge. There's lots of issues with it. And the Daily Mail's take on it is it's taken us back to the 1970s. And obviously, you know, you and I can remember 1979, where 30 million days were lost to strike. So about 30 million hours were lost to strike action. So
that is a worry, because there's been a surge in strikes under Labour, and there's a sense in which this is going to be a licence to kill, if you like, for the unions. Don't get me wrong, I'm a member of a union. I absolutely support their right to exist, and they did wonderful things in the past, fighting against evil mill owners and so forth. But those of us who live in London were recently subjected to a strike by TfL tube drivers, and I understand that the policy that they were striking about was voluntary. So they weren't even being forced to do it, and they still went on strike. So I think that if you give them too much power, they can flout it, and that just gets people annoyed. It's bad PR, but it's also very bad for the economy.
Yeah, well, there you have it. And we didn't get on to, unfortunately, to sexist and reinforcing of gender stereotypes nursery rhymes this morning.
Can we do a podcast about it?
Maybe we could. Maybe we could. I'm not sure many people want to tune into it, for they're sick of this sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's getting your vote this morning, it's fair to say. Thank you very much, you two. Thank you for your company.
Thanks, guys. And let's take a look at a great British giveaway, 60 grand in tax-free cash and a 5 grand gold bar. Here's the details.
Welcome to Olisanti by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating a golden summer. And you could be enjoying a golden year with an incredible £60,000 to be won. That's tax-free cash that you'll get to spend on anything you like. What would you do with it? You could relax knowing that we've got those day-to-day financial pressures sorted. Or find yourself celebrating in the lap of five-star luxury, somewhere like here, the Spritzeria. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 that you can keep or gift to a loved one. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck.
Good luck. Well, Rupert Lowe has offered Nigel Farage a deal to so-called unite the right, but will Reform entertain it? We're going to hear from Zia Youssef next.
Yep. But in other news, it's hot, hot, hot this week. Again, let's get all of the details in the weather, shall we, with Tom Morgan.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's going to be a hot and muggy day for some parts of England and Wales, and a quite humid picture elsewhere too, with the potential for some rain or showers, mainly in the north of the UK today, and more particularly Scotland. So a pretty damp start to the day for the central belt, and the rain will gradually push its way ever so slightly further north as we go through into this afternoon. Showers will form across Northern Ireland and southern Scotland too, and there may well be just one or two very isolated hit and miss showers across England and Wales, but here it's mostly about the heat and humidity. A really hot day across the southeast of England in particular, the mid-30s Celsius possible, and quite likely the low 30s more widely across England and the east of Wales. The potential is there also for one or two late afternoon and evening showers, possibly thunderstorms, so don't take the graphics too literally. We could see one or two showers further south and east than these graphics suggest, but generally speaking it will be the further north and west you come where the greater the chance of seeing some rain this evening, more especially across Scotland, but the rain will tend to become more showery away from the north as we go towards the second half of the day. A pretty humid picture, though, through this evening, wherever you are, an increasing chance of some longer spells of rain developing, some heavy outbreaks perhaps for parts of North Wales, but generally the chance of rain or showers in many northern and western parts of the UK overnight tonight. Further south and east staying largely dry, but again, the chance of one or two heavy showers or thunderstorms. An uncomfortably warm night for sleeping, quite humid, temperatures perhaps staying in the high teens Celsius in some southern areas. Now for Tuesday, it's going to be a slightly less hot and humid day for most, and certainly a pretty wet day across parts of northern Scotland. An increasingly breezy picture here, the winds funneling down through the Irish Sea as well later in the day. The chance of some scattered showers breaking out pretty much anywhere across the UK, but that chance is lowest towards the south and the east. And here we'll hold on to some heat. Temperatures might well approach 30 degrees Celsius in the east of England, but cooler for most.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. There is a collision on the M25 clockwise at Junction 7 in Merstham, causing slow traffic. The M27 westbound between junctions 10 and 9 near Whiteley has a lane closure. In Scotland, the A720 westbound between the A702 at Lothian-Burn Junction and the A701 at Straighton Junction has 2 lanes restricted, causing queues. Across Wales, the A470 southbound from Nantgarw to Corriton is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, cross-country and Great Western Railway services have reduced service between Newport and Cardiff Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome to Orlisanti by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating with an incredible £60,000 to be won. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Costello. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things up the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Reform UK says it will launch what it calls the largest military operation in the English Channel since the Second World War in order to stop the small boats.
Well, Nigel Farage says a reform government would deploy the Royal Navy to intercept migrant boats and return them to France or Belgium under plans dubbed Operation Fortress.
The proposal comes as more than 2,000 people have crossed the Channel since Andy Burnham became Prime Minister, with the government insisting its own approach is beginning to reduce crossings compared with this time last year.
We're just going to be relentless. People want to see this issue addressed.
Yes, Nigel Farage has come up with a comprehensive plan to stop the boats. Will it work? And how will Andy Burnham retaliate? Find out more with me very soon.
Britain could be heading for recession if the war in the Middle East drags on. That's according to a stark new economic warning.
One of Britain's biggest sporting traditions is underway as thousands of sailors descend on the Isle of Wight for Cows Week.
Well, the Cows Week got off to a great start this weekend with the Princess Royal firing the starting gun from here at the Royal Yacht Squadron. Today we're expecting another great day of racing and I'll be soaking in all the atmosphere and excitement from a very special 200th annual Cows Week.
Heard there's another heat wave on the way? Find out just how high temperatures are going to get where you live in your full forecast coming up.
Good morning, it's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is GB News Breakfast. We have been talking about nursery rhymes quite a lot this morning, haven't we?
We have, yes.
Yeah, and you guys have really got, on your side, you've really got into it.
It's got your...
Can I read one of these out? It's quite funny.
Go on then.
Bar, bar, black sheep, have you any wool? No, Labour's taxes have fleeced it all.
Oh.
that's
Some of you have been very creative this morning. Very
creative. Keep them coming in. But that's, of course, because there's this story in the Daily Mail that has said that nursery rhymes are becoming sexist and misogynistic.
Yeah, misogynistic and reinforcing gender stereotypes.
One of them was Jack and Jill going up the hill, but because Jack goes first, he's
in the position of leadership.
Right.
And the woman is following him, which is problematic.
It's problematic until you realise it's because Jack rhymes with Hill. And
no, Jill
rhymes with Hill, not Jack rhymes.
So she has to go last.
Yes, she has to go last.
Well, yes, very good. Some of you saying it should be Bill instead. Another one is Little Bo Peep, Little Miss Muffet, apparently portrays femininity as emotionally weak because the little spider frightens her.
For goodness sake. I know grown men who run away from spiders.
Yes, so do I. Anyway.
Yeah, I think there's academics in Pakistan need to give it a rest.
Yeah. Anyway, should we look at our top story at 3 minutes past 9? Because Reform UK have committed to using the Royal Navy to seal off the Channel to small boat migrants, pledging the biggest military operation in the English Channel since the Second World War.
Operation Fortress, it's going to be dubbed. It would intercept all migrant boats and return them to France or indeed Belgium. It comes as more than 60,000 migrants from Morocco descended on a tiny Spanish enclave in just a matter of hours.
Well, this comes after the Prime Minister has vowed to be relentless in tackling the number of migrants crossing the English Channel on small boats, as more than 2,000 people have made the journey since Andy Burnham entered number 10.
Well, the Prime Minister says there's still a lot more to do.
We're just going to be relentless. People want to see this issue addressed. I heard that on the doorsteps in Makerfield. But we also need to build a system that offers safe routes for people as well, because that also takes away the selling point of the gangs. So on every level, we've got to come at this, but crucially, increasing the enforcement activity. So there's been a doubling of enforcement officers through the National Crime Agency.
Well, let's speak now to GB News' political correspondent, Olivia Utley, who joins us live from Westminster this morning. Morning to you, Liv. Can we start with Reform UK's plans? Because so many of our viewers saying that this sounds like common sense, but there are still so many questions. Is it going to work?
Well, there are a huge number of questions, as you say, Ellie, and we will get more details when Nigel Farage stands up for his first press conference in a number of months at 11 o'clock this morning. So far, what we know is that Reform want to send back every single boat, and to do that they would get the Navy to intercept in what they're dubbing Operation Fortress. Now, this isn't the first time that Nigel Farage has laid out a plan pretty similar. A couple of years ago he said that the first thing he would do if he were Prime Minister would be to call the First Sea Lord and to make sure that the Navy could be used to intercept these boats. I mean, it's a great idea in theory, and I'm not surprised that our viewers are keen on your say. The issue is, one of the issues is that Royal Navy has been massively depleted in the last 10 to 15 years, and this would raise enormous logistical questions for the Navy. We know how long it took to get one boat to Cyprus when the invasion, when the Iranian war began, and the idea that the Navy could pick up every single boat is one that is surely going to be very complicated indeed. Of course, there are diplomatic issues too. Reform would take Britain out of the EHRC. That would make things a little bit easier, but there are still human rights laws embedded in British law which could make it difficult. Reform's answer to that, of course, would be that Parliament is sovereign. They could change the law if they were in government, and that is exactly what they would do. But there is no doubt that this plan is very, very expensive indeed, and I think we can expect opposition parties to be reacting today, wanting a full costing from Nigel Farage on exactly how this would work.
OK, Liv, thank you very much indeed. Let's put some of those questions, shall we, to Reform UK Home Affairs spokesperson Zia Youssef, who joins us now. Very good morning to you, Mr Youssef. As you're just hearing from Liv there, this is very popular with our viewers, many saying that this sounds like common sense, but there are huge logistical questions. We know that the Royal Navy is depleted, has been for the past 10 or 15 years. We saw it took 3 weeks for a ship to get to Akrotiri. How is the Royal Navy possibly going to be able to intercept every single small boat in the Channel? What ships are you going to use?
Good morning. So, look, firstly, we're publishing a substantial document at 11 a.m., which you and GB News viewers can read. Secondly, the plan was devised and has been endorsed, and you'll see this in the document, by former senior members of His Majesty's Armed Forces. The first point to make with regards to the comparison with regards to, a destroyer going out to another continent is that this mission is not taking on Russian warships or any sort of armed people, right? This is a humanitarian mission. So the first thing you need to do is you need to massively increase surveillance. What we will do is turn the English Channel into the most surveilled maritime border in the world. And when you speak to our people in the armed forces and former members of the armed forces, they tell you, look, there's so much surveillance Britain does have access to. For example, military space satellite surveillance, which is completely siloed from things like infrared and radar. So we create an integrated surveillance command. So that's step one. So we know everything that's going on in the Channel. Number two, we make crystal clear the orders, not just to the Navy. This is important your viewers also understand. This is a joint military operation between the RAF, the Army, and the Navy. They will all be involved. Obviously, it'll be the Navy and specifically the Marines that end up being the ones who intercept, and I want to say it again, every single unauthorized vessel in the Channel will be met, not with a free ferry service to Dover and free hotels at taxpayer expense. They will be met without fail. They'll be intercepted by Royal Marines. Those Royal Marines will take them on board onto what's called an RHIB. This is a very small, maneuverable boat that the Marines will be on, take them on board and take them back to France. The precedent for this that our Navy actually have, I know they've been hollowed out by Tory and Labour governments, but they have an exceptional record of such humanitarian missions. They did it in the Horn of Africa brilliantly as part of the piracy missions, anti-piracy missions. They did it in Ireland during the Troubles. Not only is this viable, as you'll see in the document that we publish, the former members of the armed forces who have endorsed this plan say it must be done, because to quote one of them, otherwise we're not going to have anything left to defend in this country.
Mr Youssef, let me just ask you one more follow-up question that's been doing the rounds this morning on Operation Fortress, which is what happens if the French say, no, we're not taking these illegal migrants back, and they toe-to-toe go for you and say, right, we're going to deploy our vessels and actually tow them back to your waters. What happens then?
Okay, so first of all, we're not talking about, so our Marines won't be towing boats like the Australians did, because they're very different vessels coming over, right? So they're taking them onto, these are Royal Marines RHIB, small maneuverable boats. On board will be all of the migrants they've picked up. our plan, as you'll see, envisages two scenarios. One in which the French consent, which would be ideal. We acknowledge there's a chance the French are not happy about this. Our response, the direct answer to your question, our Marines, their orders will be, you escort these migrants back onto the shores and ensure their safety in France. Those will be their orders. And I want to make the point, France's official position, the Elysee Palace's official position, is they don't want those boats leaving French shores. Remember, the British taxpayers paid them £1 billion already under Tory and Labour governments to stop the boats. What our military will be doing is simply assisting the French to comply with the contracts that they have already agreed.
And where's the money coming from?
The money, it's funny people talk about cost on this. Last year alone, the British taxpayer spent £3.5 billion just on accommodation for people who came across the English Channel illegally. That's just 1 year. This operation will cost orders of magnitude less than just 1 year's worth of accommodating people, notwithstanding all of the other costs that will then come from this. That would be the first point. The second point is the idea that it's actually remarkable that north of 200,000 unvetted, largely military-aged men from countries like Iran and Syria and Afghanistan could have landed in this country. Some of them have gone on to savagely murder British people, like Rihanna White, for example, who was stabbed repeatedly with a screwdriver. She actually worked in one of the migrant hotels, tragically, brutally murdered. Some have gone on to attempt mass casualty terrorist attacks. The only reason they haven't succeeded in this country is because of our brilliant security services. So I think when the Tories and other parties start talking about cost, if they had actually not allowed hundreds of thousands to arrive, 130,000 arrived under the Tories, now north of 70 under Labour. Okay. We have to secure our borders. So it is worth paying whatever cost it is. But I also want to make the point, it will cost less, for sure, considerably less than just 1 year of accommodating these people in the way that they currently are.
Mr. Youssef, we have to ask you about what happened this weekend with Rupert Lowe from Restore Britain. He has put a video out saying he essentially wants to start negotiations with you. What's your initial response to that video? Do you welcome his offer?
Look, Nigel put out a statement yesterday. We welcome and want to talk to any political party that shares the values that we espouse, that Nigel's fought for decades, that I've dedicated my life to. And some of the things you talked about, whether it's a secure border, as I said, we're the only major party demanding that we launch a military operation, ensure no vessels make it to, unauthorized vessels make it to our shores. We want to deport every single illegal migrant, Operation Restoring Justice. We've already published that document. We want to build a lot more prisons, deport foreign nationals, uphold law and order. We want taxes to come down. And I will say this too, I know enough about British history to know that coalition governments, these sort of cooperations, if such a scenario were to come to pass, look, nobody gets what they want. They never achieve anything remotely useful. You know that. So what it comes down to is under a first-past-the-post system, I think the next general election, it's clear, is going to come down to a battle between Labour and Reform. Reform is the only party with a realistic chance of winning a majority under a first-past-the-post system. And so what we'd say is, look, we're going to work really, really hard to convince everybody watching this who shares the values that we just talked about to vote for reform. That's what we're fighting to do. We're going to work really hard to earn their vote.
So that's a no to a deal with Restore, is it? Because we've got a number of viewers this morning saying, please put country before party, unite the right and take the fight to Labour.
Yeah, look, so as I said, first of all, it's Nigel's, all of these things are Nigel's decision. And when you look at, having spoken to him yesterday and you look at the statement he put out a statement that reflected what we were talking about internally. In the end, we're happy to talk to any other political party that shares those values. But that notwithstanding, it is my personal view that history shows in this country, again, if we're talking about putting country before party, etc., history shows the only government that actually achieve substantial things in this country, the sort that we're going to need, by the way, because God only knows we're going to be in an awful state whenever the next general election comes. So whether that be Thatcher's government that did a lot of things that, quite a lot of us like, whether it was Blair's government, which is they did appalling things, but was highly effective at doing those appalling things. They come when there's a party with a majority and a clear mandate to do those things. So we're not closing any doors, just to be crystal clear. Nigel's statement, I think, was clear about that. But I maintain the point that it's up to reform, and this is really on us, to convince everyone in the country, all the patriots in the country who want secure borders, who want mass deportations, who want the British people to come first. We've got to go out there and earn their vote.
All right, well, there you have it. Reform UK Home Affairs spokesperson Zia Youssef, thank you very much for your generosity with your time this morning. We really appreciate it. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, lots of you are going to be writing about that. Really keen to hear your thoughts on all of those topics there. So please write into us, gbnews.com/your say.
In the meantime, let's just tell you about the Great British Giveaway now, because time is ticking on. Your chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar worth over £5,000.
Lovely. Here's all the details. Was that so with Hayley Sparks? But here she is.
There we go. Give it to Hayley.
One person is guaranteed to win over £65,000 worth of gold and cash. And that person could be you. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner and join our exclusive list of giveaway champions. First of all, we want to give you a ton of tax-free cash. £60,000 in tax-free cash that you could use however you like. Treat your family, treat your friends, or treat yourself to a luxury 5-star holiday somewhere like here, all as Santi by Domes Resorts. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, still to come. Yes, good luck, everybody. I can talk now. Cows Week is underway. More than 5,000 sailors are taking part as the world-famous regatta celebrates its 200th anniversary. How about that?
Very good too. Isabel Petlak is there for us. We're going to be chatting to her next.
Fantastic.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless, and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And tune in as your favourite presenters are live across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Tune in this Thursday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of a matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News. Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And tune in as your favourite presenters are live across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island. Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Tune in this Thursday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to breakfast. It's 20 minutes past 9 and GB News is sailing into Cowes Week, aren't we, as the yachties descend on the Isle of Wight.
They do. It's the largest, longest-running, most prestigious international sailing event in the world.
However, this week is particularly special as it is the 200th event, believe it or not.
And Isabel Fekulak is there in Cowes now from the Isle of Wight. Isabel, tell us more.
Well, good morning to you both. Yes, Cowes Week was kicked off on the weekend. A great start, a great weekend of racing. The Princess Royal firing that starting gun over the weekend, expecting another great day of racing today. And as you say, it's a special year, the 200th anniversary. What started in 1826 with 7 boats racing off the Solent now encourages over 5,000 sailors, 640 boats, a huge event for the island and a great sporting event, as you say, one of the oldest of its kind and the largest sailing regatta in the world. I'm now going to be joined by Ben Cornish, a professional sailor. Ben, it's great to have you on. Of course, you sail alongside Sir Ben Ainsley in the America Cup, but this race here in Cowes Week Racing, you're alongside it's professional athletes like yourself, alongside weekend sailors, families. What's that feeling like?
Yeah, it's amazing. Very privileged to be here, especially on a milestone year at the North Sails Cowes Week. And yeah, it's great. You know, we spend our weeks racing professionally, as you say, specifically for the America's Cup campaign, and it's great to be able to have the against more everyday sailors and everyday boats at an event such as this one.
And as you say there, it's a special year. How does it feel to get to celebrate such a historic, rich event here in the UK?
Yeah, it's amazing, and just behind us here we've got the Royal Yacht Squadron, where so much of sailing's history began. It's the home of the America's Cup. It's what we're doing as our careers to try and win that America's Cup for the first ever time for this country. So it's always great to come back to Cowes. It's great to have this amazing British summer weather, and hopefully we'll have a good day out on the water with some wind.
And as you say there, the America's Cup, tell me what's next for that?
Yeah, so we had our first event of this cycle in Sardinia. Our next one's actually in Italy again. It's going to be in Naples, which is where the America's Cup will be hosted next summer. So we race there in September this year, so we'll be in our final preparation for that in the coming weeks.
Well, best of luck to you. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be here on the island all day to soak up the atmosphere, the excitement. At this time of year on the island, it really is electric. It's a great boost for the local economy, for tourism, and a great day out for families, for elite athletes, for anyone who wants to come and enjoy a bit of great British tradition and sailing history. We'll be here to soak it all in throughout the day.
Brilliant stuff, Isabel. Thank you very much.
And coming up in just a few minutes' time is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Mira and Case back together again.
We are.
It's been a while. I haven't seen you together for ages.
I know, we've kind of taken holidays separately.
Yeah, but what a big day to be back, because we've got Nigel Farage doing his first press conference, probably since May?
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
Lots to talk about with immigration and the small boats and
big
the offer from Restore to do a deal.
Absolutely. So we've got all that coming up. Also, a discussion on that incredible invasion of Ceuta just before the weekend. Lots of people saying there could be state actors behind it, but who is being accused? You can find out more with us.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be a very good show.
Absolutely. Yep, so lots coming up, and of course back to cows, but all that's coming up after your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's going to be a hot and muggy day for some parts of England and Wales, and a quite humid picture elsewhere too, with the potential for some rain or showers, mainly in the north of the UK today, and more particularly Scotland. So